Round 22, and for Kangaroo fans, they're hoping it's not the last game of 2004. First up, they must beat the Lions at the Gabba, something only one team has been able to do all year. It's certainly time for the Shinboner spirit to rise again for one of their greats. One of the best in Anthony Stevens. His last game for the Roos against the Lions, pushing hard on Saturday night football. And a glorious evening it is for Anthony Stevens in game number 292 as he enters the Gabba there with his daughter Ava. A special moment for Anthony, and he's just been a magnificent player, not just for the Kangaroos but in the AFL. Two-time best and fairest winner, captain of the club, dual premiership player. And a lot of people here tonight at the Gabba on a beautiful evening to see Anthony Stevens play his last game. We've seen with the Kangaroos over the times play emotionally for some of their greats. That magnificent comeback against the Sydney Swans earlier this year for Glenn Archer's 250th. So what will they do tonight for game number 292 for Anthony Stevens? They take on a Lions outfit that's unchanged from last week when they defeated the Saints by 45 points. It should be a great evening. They've got a fireworks spectacular just down the road. Tony Shores, I welcome you, and well, we're looking forward to a big performance by the Roos tonight. Oh, look, a great career, Anthony Stevens, and look, fantastic. And he should be very proud of what he's achieved in AFL football. They have to fight tonight. Even though it's the last game, they've got nothing to lose. Well, let's find out what Lee Matthews thinks about tonight. Here he is with Brad McEwen.
Lee, pretty simple. If you win tonight, you could finish on top.
Well, yeah, that's the idea. We want to give ourselves that opportunity, so that's what a successful night would give us.
Pretty hot last week against St Kilda. The boys pulled up okay?
I think so. I mean, it was mid-20s. It was warm, but it wasn't humid, and it's been a cool night tonight. We're not playing in warm weather again, so I don't think that should be an issue.
A lot of talk this week about the Anthony Stevens factor. Is it going to play a role?
Oh, we don't really know the answer to that. I guess we'll, after the game, we might ask ourselves that question as observers of the game. But I guess that remains to be seen.
All right, good on you, Lee. All the best.
Thanks, Brad.
Yes, and we take a look at the premiership ladder, and the West Coast Eagles and Sydney, through wins today, have made sure they're playing in the finals. Fremantle and Essendon, the Kangaroos. The Kangaroos can still do it with a win, Tony. Well, look, they can, and they have to win tonight or it's all finished. But look, gee, this is what our football's about, being tight, right? The last 8 position, that's what you want, 3 or 4 sides vying for that to play finals, and that's the way the AFL would want it. Yes, they need Fremantle to lose to the Saints and the Western Bulldogs to get up over Essendon, because their percentage will carry them through if they can manage 11 wins for the evening. Craig McRae also announced during the week that he'll retire, a triple premiership player, and has been a wonderful player up forward for the Lions. As we take a look at where Craig will be playing next to Alastair Lynch, and he was back last week. Well, I think he's going to be a dangerous player tonight, Craig McRae. He gets under the guard because they've got to look after Ackermanis and other players who play forward. Lynch, yeah, look, he's just a player you need in finals. Jonathan Brown, Drew Petrie might have to play back because they haven't got many players. I think Lee Brown might be a player who could run with Jonathan Brown. Brown on Brown. We look forward to that. No Cole, but no Archer, so it's a different looking back line for the Kangaroos, but there's some class there. Harvey, Stevens and Wells against some pretty talented lines as well. Oh, look, Anthony Stevens, he'll try and run with one of the players. Could be Michael Voss, could be Ackermanis, could be one of those midfielders. I think you have to sit on Ackermanis and Lappin to beat the Brisbane Lions. Nigel Lappin's having another great season. Usually starts on the half-back flank and works his way up the ground. Well, as I said, with Ackermanis, don't even worry about getting a kick. If Nigel Lappin gets 25 possessions, Brisbane Lions win. You have to stop him having that impact. Savrock on Mal Michael, we look forward to that, but there's some experience surrounding Michael as well, Johnson and White, and that should be a good matchup. Johnson on Motlop. Look forward to that. Daniel Motlop's had a very good year this season, and he's a dangerous forward, so to put some pressure on Chris Johnson. Keating on McKernan, Harris on Black, and Simpson on Powell. There's some real talent there. We saw Baird has come into the side, so there is a change there for the Kangaroos. And I guess McKernan, well, he's been up and down this year, a little bit like the team, the Kangaroos. They've had some games they should have won and didn't. Well, look, McKernan, you just know what he's going to give you. If he's on, he can kick 5 goals. If he's not, he mightn't touch the ball all night. That's the way he plays his game, Matty. That was the respective bench for the Lions, and there's the Kangaroos with Harding, Stevens, Ferrito and Jones. Of course, the Kangaroos coached by Dean Laidley, and earlier he caught up with Brad McEwen as well.
Well, Dean, a lot of talk about the permutation, who needs to win and who needs to lose. You guys just have to win.
Oh, yeah, look, you know, we're not looking any further than that, and we need to make sure we get a good start and win some of our own footy and make sure we put our best foot forward.
Very hard to beat the Lions up here, but West Coast showed a couple of weeks ago it's not impossible.
No, you know, and they did it particularly well, and you know, we've watched Brisbane over the last few weeks and you know, taken a few things out of the game that the other teams have done, so we'll try and implement some of our own things and some of those things and mix it around and see what we come up with.
Okay, Steve-O's retirement, is that going to get any more out of the players?
Oh, look, you know, the build-up and that sort of stuff, and, you know, there's a lot of people around, but once the ball bounces, you know, I'm not too sure, you know, the effect that it has. I think it's a more of an after-game thing where, you know, he gets the accolades of a fantastic career.
Okay, Dean, all the best. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much.
Well, we're looking forward to a big game, and shortly it's the River Five Festival here in Brisbane. Shortly the F111s will be streaming past the Gabba with the afterburners on. Last week, this man had them on against the Saints with 6 of the best.
Acker will make him pay. Pencil it in. Blast from the side. Acker doing what Acker does best. Doing back Amanis again. Just does it so brilliantly. There comes Acker. Can he kick his 5th? Left foot, high ball. Oh, yes. This is Acker. Can he kick number 6? He's having a day out. He's having a real day out. The star. They love him.
Welcome back to the Gabba for Saturday Night Football. Anthony Stevens and Michael Voss for the toss of the coin. This final game of the minor round. Michael Voss has won the toss. The Lions will kick to the left of the screen. And speaking of Anthony Stevens, his former teammate, Wayne Schwass, joins us. Good evening, Wayne.
Good evening, Matthew, and looking forward to this match. Wishing that man there on screen all the best of luck tonight in his, well, perhaps it is his final game, perhaps it isn't.
Exactly, it may not be, given what Tony and I discussed about some of the permutations that might happen for the finals. But it could be his retirement. And down on the boundary, Brad McEwen's going to join us. And Brad, it's not the only retirement for the evening.
No, Matthew, it is not. Quickly, the weather very hot, about 28 degrees in Brisbane today. We could get a shower later on. After 191 games and 3 flags over the line, the Lions mascot is being retired. He's being replaced by Bernie Gabba Vegas. He's self-proclaimed king of the mascots. Quite emotional down here on the boundary line before. Just a little bit from his bio. He likes lazing in the sun and old Elvis movies. That is Bernie Gabba Vegas. He dislikes cold weather and the Sydney Swans. So there you go. A changing of the guard at the Lions.
Thank you very much, Brad. We're underway. The Lions and the Kangaroos. And McKernan the first to touch the football. Voss, quick hands to Pike. Thought it wanted power, but Copeland got in the way. Lions first into attack. Luke Powers had a wonderful season. To Richard Hadley from 60 metres out. Heads in the Lynch direction. Chipping in front, Clark Keating came from the centre square, zipped down and took the mark. You don't see that very often. Usually it's Brown cutting across Lynch.
Well, that's the important thing for Clark Keating. He's been a player that's been out of the game for a while. He's run himself back into some form, and he's an important player. And I think really Corey McKernan, the challenges before him, he's been put into the ruck to give his side a spark. And that's not the start that Corey would be after, but that's good play by Clark Keating to push forward and put pressure on Corey.
Keating will kick from about 30 metres. Not a difficult angle. For a perfect start for the Lions. Straight through. Umpire doesn't move. And the home crowd with a bit of voice early. Keating gets the first, and just the start they're looking for, Tony.
Well, look, he's going to be a very important player to their finals campaign. As we know, he's become a specialist finals player over the last 3 or 4 years because he doesn't play a lot during the year. Copeland just on the power. You cannot tag the midfield or everybody in the midfield. Hadley's been an important player for last year and also this season, but that's a good mark. McKernan had to be goal side and he just wasn't on that occasion.
So Clark Keating gets his 4th for the season. Game number 9. As we said, an important player. McKernan and Keating go at it. Harris has been so good around the clearances. Gets one away. High kick towards centre forward. Johnson in front, spoiling. Lappin. Mel Michael towards Hadley. Harris has another go at it. Was he taken high? No. Play on's the call. Lappin. Cool under pressure. Frees up Chris Johnson again. The Lions go inside 50 towards inside 50. And Jason Ackermanis, Tony, is that a surprise? Jess Sinclair on him early?
Well, I think he's a bit loose, but Ackermanis, they could go with Michael Stevens later if it doesn't work.
Quick kick inside 50. McRae couldn't take the mark on the second attempt. Lynch just got rid of David King. A little bit overzealous, took him high. Wins himself a free kick. So already, early stages of this first quarter, the Kangaroos' defence under pressure.
Sinclair and Ackermanis getting up after a bit of a wrestle. But it's with David King now, the veteran for the Roos, switching playing to Shannon Watt. Just slowing things down, waiting for an option. Gets it from Stevens. A little quick give over the top. Now here's Makepeace. So good at setting things up for the Roos. Back through the centre. Rawlings gives it over to Grant. Patient build up here by the Roos. McKernan presents. Open forward line. Motlop trying to lose Darryl White. And then McKernan decides to just set Rawlings up. Out came Lepage. Rawlings is good. He kept in the contest, though. Here's his third effort. On hands and knees. Gave it over to Petrie. Petrie round the corner. 3-on-1 back here for the Lions. Jones was outnumbered, and we have another boundary throw-in.
Some great midfield matchups. Pike and Stevens. Anthony Stevens are on the wing. David King going with Hart. And Richard Hadley's got the big job on Adam Simpson.
Throw in. Right forward pocket for the Kangaroos. Keating against Rocker. Gets a clear tap. Chris Scott off to Copeland. Happy to seek the safety of the boundary line. We'll have a throw in. Benches for Brisbane. Bradshaw, McLaren, Notting and Carousella.
And late change for the Kangaroos. Porter replaced in the side by Baird.
Rocker and Keating go at it again. Tap. Inside 50, well set upon by two Brisbane players. Harris got a hand in there. Grant with the tackle on Lappin. Daniel Motlop did well, got it out to Simpson. Must have heard the call. A little bit sloppy there, the Kangaroos inside their forward 50. Good work, Johnson ties up with the tackle. McKernan has support. Grant, wrong side for a left foot. He's got two loose players. Take your pick. Brady Rawlings strolls in. This for the Kangaroos first. And gets it.
Well, great setup by the Kangaroos. They have come to play. If you talk about just their intent on the ball early, they have really put their bodies in. Shannon Grant, he looks like he's playing on Simon Black. Black's coming out of the centre bounces, but just a good setup. They kept the ball alive. It was David King. Petrie, a smart tap on. And then, of course, Shannon Grant. He's had a couple of touches early, so Simon Black would have to man up. And great finish by Rawlings.
Great start by Brady Rawlings. He's had 4 disposals, and that was goal number 12 for the season. Scores level. And as Tony mentioned, the attack on the ball. Very good early by the Roos. Good signs. Hadley sidestepping, took his time and just gets the kick. Brown on the lead. Very quiet last week. You're looking to have a big evening. Hooks it round the body. Lynch on a long lead. Watt did well just to get it to ground. And we'll have a ball in 60 metres around from the Brisbane goal.
Luke Powers running with Daniel Wells. Great to see that Wells now has got the confidence, or the coach has got the confidence in him to put him in midfield against one of the best combinations in the competition.
Keating and McKernan both go without it, and Wells gets it from McKernan eventually. Not sure about the handball. Back into some traffic. Grant is swamped. Lions trying to hold it in their forward 50, and they do so.
Fair matchup, isn't it? Robert Copeland is running with Brent Harvey. Robert Copeland's 6'3". I think Brent Harvey would be lucky to be 5'10".
Again, it's McKernan winning the knock. He was headed in the Rawlings direction. Ackermanis trying to force it forward. Sinclair around the corner. Pike has to stand and wait. Here comes Brown. Dropped it. Stevens was looking for Simpson. Voss in the way. Taps it cleverly to Copeland, who just bangs it forward. They've got some numbers, though. McRae diving. Here's Ackermanis. He goes over the line. We have another boundary throw-in.
Jess Sinclair, and you talked about that matchup, Wayne. If you think about it, if Jess Sinclair can't do it, I think Michael Stevens has got enough pace, maybe not as experienced, but he can go in with speed, and he's a pretty tough nut too, which you have to be on Ackermanis.
Throw in left forward pocket for Brisbane. Neither ruckman got a hand to the ball. Wells coming through, wins himself the free kick. Advantage paid, Sinclair. Outside defensive 50, short kick. Petrie did well on the half volley. Sinclair got a back Pike with some good pressure. Synonymous with this Brisbane outfit. They work just as hard when they have possession as what they do when they don't have it. Hadley got a nice shepherd from McRae. Inside 50 again. The kick, not to the advantage of Lynch, did well. The Kangaroos have support, but they have Ackermanis in the Brisbane jumper. Quick kick around the corner. No 10. Hart called to play on. Keating kicks it out of mid-air. The right side of the point post, and we'll have a throw in this time the opposite side of the goal post.
Well, every time I think you'll see the half-forward line. Drew Petrie will really work over Lepage leading up at the ball carrier tonight.
McKernan looking dangerous in the ruck, but Ackermanis was there now. Slopes it cleverly back for power. He loves to swing onto his left boot. And he kicks the goal. Two of the fabulous five, or the fantastic five, or whatever you want to call them, they combined. Clever knock from Ackermanis. And Power did the rest, Tony.
Well, Daniel Wells, you know, I talked about a talent that he is. He has to know there's two sides of the game, and defence was the time. He had to put time in the Power. They just gave him too much latitude. He went to the contest. Power was sucked out the back, and as you said, a great tap on by Ackermanis and a good finish.
Umpires tonight, Adam Davies, Matthew Head and Justin Schmidt. Brisbane by 6 points. McKernan went early. Simpson gets a high quick kick outer side of the ground. Copeland hacks it towards the boundary line. We'll have a throw in.
So you talk about the experience of those, the Fab Five that we talk about. When you put Wells in there, also, you know, you got Grant, Simpson, King. Both these sides have got midfields who can match up either with number of games, you would think.
McKernan worked his way to the front, but Keating came over the top. Gained an extra 5 yards, and we'll have a secondary throw in.
Daniel Harris running with Michael Voss. So again, Dean Laley has given a test to a couple of blokes, Daniel Harris and Daniel Wells, playing on Voss and Power. Two great challenges.
Players from both sides on the outer side of the ground. Forward lines open. A lot of players around the ball, as you'd expect. That would be modus operandus throughout the course of the night, especially for the Kangaroos, Tony.
Well, I think if Dean Laley's just said, yeah, we're going to play it tight, so let's try and cut them down. When we get running, we need our forwards to come at the ball carrier. He hasn't flooded, so he's gone out there and said, all right, let's see if we can do it early and just one-on-one.
This time, Wells, third man up. Lappin gets a quick handball out. Quick knock goes forward, inside 50 for Brisbane again. Makepeace leads in the race. McRae there to pressure. Got rid of Makepeace. Brown came late. McRae did well to keep the ball in play. Voss hurriedly around the corner. Brent Harvey there to mop up. Support by Brown to Wells. Whoa. Still not out of trouble. Dubious handball. Ackermanis loves this situation. Loves it. Brisbane gets their third.
Well, Daniel Wells, and look, you know what's going to happen every time Daniel Wells, because he's such a talented player. Brisbane love to put time to those types of players. He had three players around and just coughed the ball up. He receives a handball from Lee Brown here, trying to invent. Sometimes you just got to kick the ball out of defence, and you don't want it to come to one player, and that is Jason Ackermanis. Fantastic finish off a couple of steps, but there it is. Cough it up, get distance with your kicks, and kick it out of defence.
Ackermanis coming off 6 last week against the Saints and 37 for the year. It's a big battle between he and Lynch for their leading goal kicker. Of course, we know that Alistair Lynch has missed a lot of football. Otherwise, that would have been a gimme, an infringement, and the free kick will go to the Roos in the centre. The Lions leading by 12 points. Alistair Lynch, the only other player with Anthony Stevens to play in the 80s. And they're both out here tonight. Free kick against Ackermanis to Harris. They've got some run here, the Roos. Sinclair holding it up. Too far out to score. Lions get plenty of numbers back and goes to Simpson now. Waiting for Leeds.
Well, this suits the Lions, just holding the ball up like this.
Lepic likes to zone off. Harvey did well against the bigger man. Clever handball, Stevens. Harvey still going. Could be a ripper. Unfortunately, it's still in play, though. He kicked it off the side of the boot. Petrie going back, and the Lions spoil. Hart gave it to White. Johnson, good chase by Harding. Hadley, got to get past Wells. It's usually not that easy to do. Get support. The run from Nigel Lappin. Poor handball. Set down White up. Here's a chance here for the Roos. Harris gave it up. White, quick give on the up. McRae. Likewise, reflex back to Hadley. Chips it over the top. Keating takes another mark. Inside the 450. Lynch is just saying boot it long. He does so. Lynch in the goal square. Got it. Too strong. And the confidence of the Lions just to kick it to him, Tony.
Well, He's playing on Shannon Watt. Shannon Watt would be able to go with him on leg speed on the lead, you would think, but any time it's body on body, you think Alistair Lynch. That was great play. You don't see it in modern football enough where sides just say, OK, let's kick it to a one-on-one. They always want to get someone on the lead. When you've got this man down there, you know you're going to be front and centre. Gee, they rebounded off halfback brilliantly then with the Brisbane Lions.
Lynch forced onto the angle. He marked virtually on the line. We've seen him in this situation before. Doesn't panic. Checkside goal. The Lions have 4. Lynch gets his first for the evening.
Well, not great signs at the moment for the Kangaroos. And look, a couple of their youngsters have coughed it up. Daniel Wells, I just thought then Daniel Harrison, here's this mark. Look, one-on-one, he is the best in the competition at doing this. He could play till he's 45. He might get long service leave then. But no, I'm only kidding. He might give it away next year. If they win the grand final, he probably will give it away. But gee, he has the strength there. He did have the jumper, though, and I think umpires have got to watch that because when you hold a jumper and push off, it gives you a lot more leverage.
Alistair Lynch, a wonderful player over many years, 629 goals. And you'd think Shannon Watt could do with some support. And that goal square for the Brisbane Lions. McKernan to Simpson. Wells seems to be under pressure. The Brisbane players applying plenty of pressure on the playmaker in Daniel Wells. Motlop towards Sinclair. Good tackle. Geez, I've got to say, Tony, Clark Keating, we sing his praises, but he's got off to a terrific start tonight.
Well, look, he's going to be fresh coming in the final, Swatter, and the thing about it, he knows and he times his run forward to be a very dangerous forward also. Look, he'll be cherry ripe by the time the finals start next week.
Voss and Lynch starting in the goal square for Brisbane. McKernan, good use of the body. Power read it better. Keating, the deft tap over the top to Hadley. What an improved player he's been. On a premiership with 4 games. Black inside 50. Whistles blown. Downfield. Against Daniel Motlop, he's been spoken to.
Free kick.
The moment.
Free kick downfield, and it looks like it'll go. Oh, no. The umpire's pointing the other way, but I don't think it is that.
A little bit of confusion. There's confusion everywhere.
No, it's a free kick to Brisbane Lions down. There was a bump after the kick. And I think it was Motlop. So Michael Voss will have a kick from about 23 metres out. 23.
Shouldn't have too many problems. The Brisbane skipper. And doesn't. Michael Voss gets Brisbane's 5th.
Well, you know, what a great start. I think Lee Matthews, this suits Lee Matthews because I believe if they have a fair enough lead at half-time, we'll just see here, Simon Black kicks the ball, or just a hit in the mouth. Maybe took a little bit of a dive, Simon Black, but at least you make them pay by the ball going down the ground and Voss and Courtney's going to finish. I think Lee Matthews, if they have a big enough lead at half-time, you'll go really into player management mode and make sure they all get rested up for next week's game.
Clark Keating taking a spell, as Wayne mentioned. It's just been super so far. Dylan McLaren's come onto the ground. The Lions lead by 4 goals. Still when almost to the halfway mark of the first term as Stevens wins the clearance. He's headed in the Harvey direction. Brent Harvey, best and fairest winner. Evades power, gets some help from Harding. He can't get past Copeland. And we saw the tackle statistics earlier on. It was 12-3. Now make that 13. And that's the indicator the Lions use to see if they're playing well. Ackermanis gets the short pass back to the playmaker, Chris Johnson. One of the most creative in the game. Heads down the line, wants Brown or Black. Black got in his way. Kangaroos with some numbers. Grant gets it from Wells. Kicks forward. Petrie the target. Bashes it into the face. Power. Give on the up to Copeland. Hart going to be run down. Turnover. Here's a chance. Kangaroos. Harris sets sail for home. Where's Sav? There he is. Could have played on and kicked it, but he takes the mark. The Kangaroos should kick their second.
Well, reverse pressure wasn't from the Kangaroos, just a bump as Hart kicked the ball, and it came to Harris, and that was a good kick. That was nearly like a Laidley's paddock. He had a lot of space behind him, Sav Rocker, just running back into the goals, and he read that ball very well. Pretty hard for a big bloke to keep looking over his shoulder with a ball wobbling around in the air like it was. 47 goals for the year. It's been the Rocker reincarnation in 2004.
lining up for 48. He's a beautiful kick, and he makes no mistake whatsoever. Roos get their second, margin back to 3 goals.
Well, they needed that goal, didn't they, the Kangaroos, just to stop the bleeding. And again, there's the pressure I talked about. That's what you've got to do against the Brisbane Lions. Gee, if they get numbers and they just run freely, they set it up so well. But good kick by Daniel Harris. You have to get some yardage on your ball against the Brisbane Lions because they just play off so much. You want to get them one-on-one as much as possible so they just cannot get some help at the ball, at the drop of the ball.
So the margin, 3 goals. Sav Rocker gets his first. Closes in on the 50-goal mark. Hart got it to Pike. They waste no time, Brisbane. Sharing it around. Hart gets it back. Got it from Chris Scott. Has the playmaker in Johnson. Decides to go short. Ackermanis doesn't waste any time. Good smother Sinclair. Johnson follows up. Took Rawlings high. Allowed to play on. McRae, deft hands. Ackermanis went without it. Makepeace. Kick smothered by his own teammate. They have numbers. Stevens playing his part, Anthony Stevens. Possibly his last game to David King. But Brisbane with all the numbers. Lepich, easy as you like. They're queuing up now. Hart can go to Johnson short if he wants. Decides to go in the direction of Jonathan Brown. Good spoil Lee Brown for the Kangaroos. Makepeace. And they're away. Kick up in the direction of Corey McKernan's got support. Corey Jones gives up a handball. Nothing else further afield.
That's intentional.
Not a bad result. A little bit worried. Thought the umpire might have played deliberate out of bounds, but nonetheless, the Kangaroos can set up again. 70 from goal.
Chris Scott was pleading with him, saying, where was he kicking that ball? He was just trying to get yardage.
Umpire with a sense of drama, wasn't he? He was just sprinting to the line, waiting for the decision, and then just said, nope, throw it in. 7.5 minutes remaining in the first term. McLaren in the ruck, down to Johnson. So often he evades tackles. Pike. Brown on Brown. Called by Tony Shaw early. Black, Crumming. Wonderful smother. Who else? Outstanding smother. He's already had 5 disposals. Take a look at this.
Well, excuse my clapping, but this is where he's won his reputation, isn't he? Just a bloke who will never, ever concede that he's out of the game.
Rocker in the ruck. Wells, wonderful reflexes. Banged it on the boot quickly. Jones gets 35 metres with a punch. Open forward line. Here's a chance. Harding overran it. The tap from McKernan was smart, as Tony said. Here's Brown. Beaten to it again by Lee Brown. It's been a wonderful start by the Kangaroos defender. Rocker. Simpson. Spotted Motlop. Wonderful kick. Open forward line again. It's Lepich and Petrie back in the goal square.
Anthony Stevens.
There's the chip pass. He's got it. The skipper working hard. Looks to feed it off and gives it to Sav. Just makes it. Crowd thinking it bounced. Sav's pretty comfortable, and he could just about get home from here.
Well, he nearly could if it's 53, no doubt, and I keep saying it in his career, he kicks the ball better from here. If it was another 2 metres right on the 50, I've got no worries about it.
Passes to Motlop, and he'll kick from right on the 50.
I think the Kangaroos have settled a little bit now. I'm a bit worried about a couple of matchups. Now, when you talk about Jess Sinclair playing like Ackermanis, I think Michael Stevens is a backup there who could play on him. But a big kick just to get them back in the game. You know, 3 goals down and looked like they were going to be dominated by the Brisbane Lions. They have rewarded the player coming at the ball carrier, and that means the Brisbane Lions cannot play off.
It's kicked 33 for the season, Motlop. He'd love to make it 34. It's straight. Has it got enough distance? It's perfect.
It has.
Wonderful kick by Motlop. The Roos have kicked the last 2, and they're now just 2 goals down.
Oh, gee, when we started the quarter, we thought, gee, this could be a one-way street for a while. But what they've done, and here it is, a good example. Keep leading up. I think Justin Lepich is a player who other sides are going to look at in the final series to say, maybe we can use up Justin Lepich. He's not as quick as he used to be. He likes to play off and help his teammates. And in that occasion, it cost him a goal. He's got to be more defensive-minded.
Kangaroos with the last 2. Back to a 2-goal margin. McKernan did well under pressure from McLaren. The man of the moment, Anthony Stevens. Off to another experienced player in Shannon Grant. Kick towards Petrie. The man you spoke about, Tony. reads the play just about as well as anybody else in the business. Is that some sort of aircraft doing a low-flying pass? Chris Johnson doing his own low-flying pass to Black. Could this be the quick reply? The bounce won't favour Lynch. Clean bowl. Watt wants to give it off. Good play by McRae. Empty him in. Corey Jones. Back to Shannon Watt. He's happy to see the ball out of bounds.
Bit sloppy there by the Brisbane Lions. See Shannon Grant and Simon Black. They're going to get plenty of... And there goes the plane.
Yeah, final 11.
Festivities here in Brisbane tonight.
Including yourself, Tony?
What's that?
Just a festival sort of guy.
Tom Indoors.
McKernan got rid of Lynch. Quick kick out. Lappin. Always seems to have time, Nigel Lappin. Kick was towards McLaren over his head. Petrie is pushed up. Jones. And go back to Daniel Wells. He's in space. He's got 20 yards in front of him. Lepage closes.
Take him on.
Now goes long in the direction of Harding. Needs to be good with Chris Scott. Had a chance, couldn't take the mark. Chris Scott, as you'd expect, doesn't muck around, sees the ball through for a rush behind.
Well, the momentum's changed, and here Harding just used his body. Well, gee, he should have marked that ball. Had to get his hands above his head, which I think is easy. When you bump someone off, you can take it over your head. They've changed the momentum now. The Kangaroos have had enough ball coming out of half-back. Just stabilised the contest.
First behind for the evening, so here's Darryl White to have our first kick in, and there's that short kick into the pocket to Johnson. And wonderful work by Motlop.
There's that sloppiness. The last 5 minutes they've missed the target 3 or 4 times. Not a good sign. I think Lee Matthews, look, he'd be pretty happy with the start, of course, if they go in a quarter time with a lead, but
there's been a couple of turnovers, hasn't there?
A couple of players a bit sloppy.
Now there's a whistle on the play, and it's a Lions free kick. Rocker was just on his own. It was a Shepherd. Steve-O takes a spell, and he's been terrific. 7 disposals already, and some very hard work. Johnson's going to back himself. He's going to put Copeland under pressure. High ball. Lee Brown coming. Well, Spoil came. It's sat for Pipe. He can chip it over the top to Jonathan Brown, who just slipped away from Lee Brown there.
Yeah, good call, Matty.
Voss is short, Lynch is long, and Brown is off target.
Again, that's a lazy kick off one step, but you called that well. Lee Brown, if he wants to go to the contest, you want to mark the ball because you know that Jonathan Brown will be pushing hard forward.
Kangaroos
men on the outer.
The Kangaroos, that's right, Tony. They have numbers. Michael Stevens on for his first run, replacing his brother, Jess Sinclair. Steers the kick into Brent Harvey. I need a big game from Brent Harvey, such an important player in this Kangaroos lineup, as is this young man. He's really announced himself with a terrific year of football, along with Daniel Wells. Rocker provides the lead.
Definite plan here, definite strategy, Wayne.
Not without his possibilities, Sab Rocker, if he got onto one. He's a prodigious kick of the football, looking to lay it off. Oh, Michael Stevens all alone. The kick had a little bit too much on it. And the Lions rebound, or do they? Simpson read it well, couldn't take the mark. Handball in the direction of Grant. Had time, back to Harris, taken down in a good tackle by Chris Johnson. Plays allowed to continue. Power, centre of the ground, has Hart out wide. Got Jonathan Brown over the top.
Tim Notting.
Further afield, Tim Notting. Takes an easy mark in front of Drew Petrie. Lynch is one out in the square with Watt if he wants. Tim Notting will go back and have a shot for goal.
Prodigious kick. The distance was never a worry. It's whether someone had got free, Wayne, and as you called, no one was free in the forward line, so he just goes back. Only a question of accuracy here.
Dropped for last year's grand final to make way for Marcus Ashcroft, but has really bounced back this year, playing every game. Tim Notting has 23 goals for the season. Kicks just on 50, wrong side of the post. Kicks the Lions first behind.
Chris Johnson, here's this tackle. He's been fantastic. He had 9 possessions, Chris Johnson. Somehow you have to get into the goal square. I don't know how you do it. Even if you take everybody else, Chris Johnson's got to be taken out of the play.
That's clever work by Simpson. The Kangaroos have moved it quickly inside their forward 50, and Sav Rocker takes the mark, but he's been pinged for throwing Mount Michael aside.
Become a technique. It's rife now in football, isn't it? Just throw the player aside to get your body, get your space.
Switch of play, and the 3 tall defenders combining. Lepage back through to White. Johnson has Hadley or Lepage. They'll share it. Lynch provides the lead. kick from Letbich. He'll be disappointed with that because that was the perfect build-up for a full forward leading.
Well, it is, but again, it's a lazy kick coming out and trying to be too precise where they normally kick the ball quick to Lynch along in the square. Again, a little bit of sloppiness just creeping in their play in the last 10 minutes of this quarter.
12-point margin. Ackermanis went without it. He was off before he took it. Sinclair enjoying just a little bit of aggro there.
Well, you've got to do that. Try and get his mind on something else, but then you've got to realise this bloke can turn it on, so then you've got to know your defensive positioning really well.
Here's the boundary throw-in right on the 50. Petrie in the ruck. Releases Ackermanis. He misses. And what will Sinclair say now?
Well, that's the thing. If you want to go that way, you have to be... I'd be playing 5 yards off Ackermanis, 5 yards off goal side. He's got to kick over you or get round you then.
Watt with a clearing kick towards Grant. Couldn't take the mark. Nice tap on. Sinclair has some time. Relieving momentarily towards Harding. Unkind bounce. Brisbane with the numbers. Black. Lovely sidestep. They go inside 50 again. There's that man there. You said, Tony. You've just got to be on your game for 100 minutes every second of the match with this man, because he might get a kick every now and again, but he can explode within 3 or 4 minutes. He's having a fair start to the game with 6 possessions.
Well, he's kicked the goal. Now, if he kicks 5 goals, he wins the contest. I think Michael Stevens, as I said at the start of the game, Jess Sinclair's a free-flowing, small defender who doesn't put enough defensive time into it. He's had 8 possessions himself, Sinclair.
Already has 1. This for number 2. Bends it back nicely. He gets his second.
The other thing also is if you run up the ground and you don't use your foot skills well enough and you turn it over, you know where they're good players are smart enough. They say they can't get involved in the game. Here's Black. Sinclair turns it over. There he is, 5 to 6 metres off his man. And Lynch was holding off Shannon Watt. So too dangerous a player. I think you've got to negate Lappin and Ackermanis and not let them have an impact on the game, and don't even worry about getting possession. That's why I'd swap Sinclair around.
2 goals to Ackermanis. Lions lead by 3 goals now. Dying moments of the first term. Notting comes off his wing. Kicks it long. 5 seconds to go. Voss went without it. Ferrito right with him. And Carosella gets involved for the first time in the quarter, but to no avail. Wonderful, bright opening by the Lions, but the Kangaroos came back with a couple in a row to get the margin back to 12 points. But at 3/4 time, the home team leads 6-1-37. The Roos 3-1-19. Quarter time here at the Gabba, and the Lions lead by 18 points with Ackermanis kicking 2, individuals kicking the rest of the goals for the respective teams. Chris Johnson's been very busy coming out of his back pocket with 10 disposals. Ackermanis and Copeland 7 apiece. Jess Sinclair on Ackermanis with 8, and Simpson and Stevens with 7 each. Tony, not the difference in disposals, but down the bottom, inside 50s, that's a dangerous stat for the Kangaroos.
That is a dangerous stat. If that was to continue, you're nearly setting all-time records, and I think they would score very heavily. But look, give the Kangaroos some credit. This game looked like it was nearly out of the door, out the door for them, but they turned around. Their momentum was very good in the about 15-minute mark of that quarter. They started to get a fair bit of the ball.
This is an important game for the Kangaroos. It's an important game at the Telstra Dome between St Kilda and Fremantle. Fremantle need to win if they want to play in the finals next week. I'm going to show you a score from that game. If you don't want to know the score, you can look away now. Dean Laidley with plenty to say to his group, holding them on. Lee Brown's done a good job on Jonathan Brown. But let's find out what's happening in the Roos camp. Brad McEwen is with assistant coach Brian Ryle.
you, Matthew. Choco, 37-19, not a totally bad start.
No, I guess that you know, some of the goals they've got come through our mistakes. You know, at times we haven't been strong enough with the ball in our hands, and we've given the ball back, and it's cost us.
Yeah, guys like Wells and Motlop, they're talented, but those mistakes were very costly.
Oh, absolutely, and against a very physically strong side, you can't do that against Brisbane.
No worries, Choco, all the best.
Thanks, Brad.
Dean Laley holding his team for a long time. But as you mentioned, Tony, there was a period where they were on top in that first term. And they made the Lions pay on a couple of errors, and they forced a few turnovers.
Well, look, the Lions also, when they, as you said, those two youngsters who turn the ball over, it's just physical. They're going to be physical at those players because they're so talented. But, you know, look, the Lions started well. The Kangaroos jumped back. You know, I think Dean Laley would be saying, let's stick to our game plan. They've got a definite strategy of people coming up to the ball carrier. You keep holding the ball. The Lions will get numbers behind it, but hopefully they can get to 45 and 50. It's harder to kick goals out there, but at least they're going to have shots on goal instead of turning it over.
Keating back on the ground now. We'll start this second term in the middle. Richard Hadley getting some work on the bench. Has had a very busy first term, Hadley. 7 disposals. Tim Notting now with a job on Anthony Stevens. Superb first quarter for the skipper. We're underway. It's an 18-point margin. Round 22. Lions and Kangaroos, and Keating wins the first knock. Went back to get it. McKernan searching handball forward. Sweeping back. Power does that role very well. Has released Notting. He could just about go all the way here. Likes to get around. Runs to 40. Good smother though from Ferrito. And now the rebound football from the Roos. Harvey, a little bit untidy, but Stevens has some time. Forced to kick it up in the air. McKernan presents the spoil from Keating. Lappin in front to Pike. Been good of late, Martin Pike. Shrugs the tackle, does well, balances up, hooks it round the corner. Running onto it, Power. There's that left, round the corner. Too far this time, just to behind.
Well, there's one thing about the Brisbane Lions. If you don't tackle well, Pike should have been tackled and held with the ball there, but he just had the body strength to shrug the tackle. You have to make them lay because that means that you can hold them up. But, gee, when they start running forward, a couple of the wingers from the Kangaroos are running into the centre bounce, and looks like the Brisbane Lions wingers are staying at home, which is a smart move.
Makepeace. Short to the pocket, Shannon Watt. Not a great deal of movement for the Kangaroos, Tony, so they have to head out the other side. It's that man there, Anthony Stevens. He's certainly doing his bit. Adam Simpson's short. That's ignored. Petrie on a long searching lead. That's the direction he heads. Leppich gets a good fist, sees the ball out of bounds for a throw in.
Well, that's better from Justin Leppich. I just wonder whether Lee Matthews has said, OK, if they're going to lead up the ground, we need players to be on the back of them because that's their strategy. It was a long searching lead by Drew Petrie then.
Luke Powell with the first score of the quarter, 1 point, gets the margin out to 19 in favour of Brisbane. Black, so good around the packs, hurriedly around the corner. In front, Craig McRae. Got rid of Troy Makepeace. Announced his retirement during the week. Has been a wonderful player over many years for the Brisbane Bears and Lions.
Gee, just didn't get rid of Troy Makepeace. You have to wonder what Troy Makepeace was doing. If you're, 35 metres out and someone's going to mark the ball on their chest, he's going to kick from about 50, so a bit further.
Gives it a good ride. Question of accuracy to the wrong side of the post. He gets his first score for the evening. 1 behind. Margin, an even 20 points.
191 games, Craig McRae. Great servant, isn't it?
Glenelg player. South Australia. I think passed up by the Crows. They weren't interested.
I think in the finals he could be a dangerous player because they have to go to so many others that you know that in 5 minutes you can crumb the ball and kick 3 very quick goals.
Lee Brown, the strong man in front, gets a kind bounce, lays it off for Grant. Now he's missed the target here, but McKernan's got enough space and he's away. McKernan, will he get around Brown? Goes on the left. It's a good kick.
Good kick.
Beautiful pass. And Sav's got it.
Now, Sav, if he's outside 50, if he can't pick anybody off, just take your time and settle.
Go back and kick it.
Here's a beautiful kick from this distance.
One of the best in the business. Perfect technique. And the distance shouldn't be a problem.
Well, for a lot of other people, it would be. He'd be kicking from what, Matty, 55?
55, probably. Just a walk in the park, Tony.
I have to join about 2 of mine together to get this.
Severia Rocca.
Look at that.
Hits it nicely and hits it home. Never in doubt. Kangaroos get the first goal for the second term. A nice bit of football. A little bit of class from McKernan to lay it out and then beautifully finished.
Well, it was. And McKernan just found some space on the wing. The ball bounced beautifully for him. I was just worried about him coming back on his right. He didn't want to kick on his left. Then had the touch for a big fella. And again, there it is. Come and lead at the ball carrier. Well done, South Rocker. Do what the coach tells you and finish off like that.
So Rocker's second goal brings the margin back to 14 points. The Kangaroos, as we come to expect, just won't go away. McKernan was involved in that goal. Tap came down to Simpson. Black working hard on his hands and knees. Voss, deft kick. Perhaps not the intended target, but nonetheless ends up in the arms of Craig McRae. Already had a shot at goal the second quarter. Kick goes inside 50. Watt doing a good job on Lynch. Ball spills free. Lappin, Ackermanis hungry for the ball inside 50 for Brisbane. Going nowhere and will have a bounce. He gets his left leg worked on. Benches for Brisbane. Second quarter, Hadley, Hart, McLaren and Bradshaw. Bounce 40 from goal for Brisbane. McKernan starting to get involved in the game now. Rawlings, good tackle, Notting. Sees both ball and player over the line for a throw-in.
And you see Dylan McLaren tonight, Wayne. If you know the margin was to push out, you think that he'd get a fair bit of game time. Clark Keating, he still needs football also, so they're in a bit of a quandary there, the Lions.
Well, the good thing about that, though, Tony, if the game went that way, you've got to have it. Brisbane need a backup ruckman. Clark Keating can't do it all on his own.
No.
And it's a great experience and a great opportunity for a young player in Dylan McLaren to get a taste of what it's going to be like in finals.
Good point.
39 plays 25. A ball in just outside the forward 50 for the Lions. Here is Keating with McKernan. McKernan easily. Stevens round the body. No one really to kick to. He's just finding yardage there and gets it up to the centre wing.
Dean Laley would love the way the game's played at the moment, just the stoppages, you know, so they can't get free-flowing Brisbane. We know they're very good around it, but, you know, they've got some experienced players in the middle of the ground and around the ball also. Grant, Simpson, pretty tough nuts, and Stevens.
Yep. McKernan doing well on the ruck. Black tracking back and getting clear. And beautiful finish. Brown, look fortunate there. Wheels around and kicks it long. Lynch, right with him, Shannon Watt. Did well, got to the front, forced it down. Sinclair wants the boundary, and it beats Carosella over.
Well done, Shannon Watt. Playing in front of Lynch, you know...
Just went for the footy.
Yeah, that's the good thing about it. He showed confidence, because if the ball goes over your head, you hope you've got someone else who can come over and spoil and help you. But if you play behind Lynch, he'll just hold you back with his body weight. If it drops short, he's going to take chest marks.
This time Keating wins it, and Lappin trying to find Pike. Went through everybody. That's Carosella. Pike. Keating. Keeping it alive. Lappin. Everyone ran past him. No one tackled him. Kicked it round the corner. And free kick against Lynch. Holding. This time it goes to Shannon Watt.
And exactly the same thing. Well done, Shannon Watt. He tried to get to the front position, and Alistair Lynch held his jumper as he was trying to run. There it is. Great decision by the umpire. Well done to the youngster. Not afraid to get to the front position.
And they're certainly under pressure, the Kangaroos defenders, Tony. 22-11 inside 50s in favour of Brisbane. Decides to play on. Gets out in the direction of Michael Stevens. Is he up to the task? And a second attempt, couldn't take it. Nodding, no. Free kick paid, trip. Voss. Camp 60 from home, goes in short, inside 50 to Martin Pike. Left unattended. Four-time premiership player. It's a wonderful story, Martin Pike. Spent some time with the Kangaroos. He's enjoyed his best football since coming to Brisbane.
And mainly,
3 years, 3 flags.
Yeah,
Doesn't get any better than that.
What, do you think you enjoy that, Matty?
It's the stuff dreams are made of, Tony.
Martin Pike for Brisbane's 7th. It's a beautiful looking kick. Straight over the head of the umpire. Brisbane have goal number 7.
Well, Martin Pike, much maligned player, but gee, the one thing he can do, he's got a great footy brain, and his skills are fantastic either side of his body. He found space in. The other thing about it, Martin Pike, they've kept him hungry by only giving him one-year contracts since he's been to Brisbane, which meant that, you know, any of the problems he had off-field, he wouldn't think about doing it.
And also, a family's been very important.
Exactly.
Yeah. Margin back to 20 points as the captain of the Lions takes a spell.
The other thing about Martin Pike is he's got great positional flexibility. Can play anywhere on the field except maybe ruck.
Don't put that past him just yet. Lappin to Black to Power. Going to run out of room. Kept it going. Nodding. Didn't. Baird. Grant. Harris. Trying to build something here. The Kangaroos, and they do. They've got Sinclair free. He's a good user of the footy. Oh. And it was good. This is Baird. They've got 3 or 4 players back through the middle. Grant along the ground. It was a poor disposal, but still the Kangaroos keep it alive. Harris over the top. White for the Lions, knocking it towards Lappin. Beautiful take. Lovely clean pickup and breaking. Here they go. Hadley. Keating will give it to Johnson. Ackermanis all on his own. He'll play on. He might get it back here. No. Pike over the top, and that's as good as it gets. Gabba crowd come alive. They love their footy here. Why wouldn't they? Because they see footy like that. It all started with Lappin, and it all went to the other end.
Well, I hope we do get to see Nigel Lappin. Can you imagine? Here it is. Pick the ball up with your head over the ball with 2 players on you, and then to accelerate away, running away from goal, and then it just happened. Now again, Jess Sinclair, you've got to ask the question, where is he now? I know he's run forward, but you just cannot afford it on Ackermanis.
Must be prepared to pay a heavy price if you make a mistake against this all-conquering Brisbane outfit. You don't need too many opportunities. Keating, Lappin went without it. Has another go, met heavily late by Harris.
Ooh.
And the Brisbane players come from everywhere, just the young Kangaroo player. Good play by the umpire, got it away. Good throw up. Free kick's been paid.
Carousella.
Dispersed the pack of players that set upon Daniel Harris quite quickly. Johnson. And this was blown again. There's another free kick.
I can't. Look, that shouldn't be allowed, that. Why was the free kick to Johnson? There was no infringement. What he must have said, that was Carousella was in the area.
I think he was taken high, Tony. Lepage, the recipient of a Johnson kick towards Pike, couldn't take the mark. Jonathan Brown has been beaten thus far by Lee Brown. White tight on the boundary line. Can we see some magic from Darryl White? Has a go at the goal square, across the face of goal. No score, will have a throw in. This time left forward pocket for Brisbane.
Darryl White found himself up forward. Hasn't been there a lot in the last few years of his career. Hasn't kicked a lot of goals. Kicked the goal of the year in his first game of AFL footy. Very similar to that one. Taken out of the ruck quite comfortably. But Power goes back, gives it to Johnson. Good smother. Here's Copeland trying to mop up for the Lions. Bangs it forward. It goes high inside the forward 50. The 2 Browns are at it. Lee Brown with strength. Good stuff. Kept it back towards Harris. That's a good clean take as well. Free kick will go back to Harris after he handballed. Now advantage. No, it's coming back.
Well, they've had a go at Daniel Harris, and he's standing up to the test, isn't he? He's
had a great season.
Very tough at the contest, and a great clearance player.
Yep. And that's a good kick. That's found Rawlings. 51-25. Rawlings up the line. Ferrito. He's trying to get free, and he does. It's a pretty open forward line. The Kangaroos aren't going down, are they, Tony? They're hanging back through the middle.
Well, what they're doing is this strategy of keeping control of the ball because they know the Brisbane Lions will get numbers. They just hope that they can edge it into their forward 50. It means you're not going to kick goals very quickly. That's the problem with it.
Well, they've still got possession, though.
Yeah, no, that's the way they're going with it tonight.
And Petrie tries to switch, and it works.
Well done.
McKernan's got it. inside his forward 50, within range, they'll go back and try and kick the Kangaroos 5th.
Well, that's disciplined play. That's exactly what they're trying to achieve tonight, is keep the ball. And I think Lee Matthews has confronted this before. He's saying, well, we don't think sides will kick goals quick enough. And Dean Laidley's saying, well, that's the only way we think we can beat Brisbane Lions. And as I said, edge it in the 50. Got to have some big kicks to convert, though.
He has kicked it. Not a problem. 17 goals for the season for Corey. Well played by the Kangaroos. Patient football paying off.
Well, I think Corey's had the better of Keating in the tap work around the ground. I might be wrong. I think he's been fairly solid. And, you know, one thing we know he can do is a beautiful kick also. Probably better again from distance. Look at that for a follow-through. He's coming to the end of a career, and a very good career too.
McRae takes a well-earned rest. The margin, 20 points in favour of Brisbane. Keating has a second attempt. Nodding, did well. Got it to Chris Scott. Promising build-up for Brisbane. To Lynch, he's got rid of White. In front, couldn't take the mark. Brown gathers the ball. Did he throw it out?
Good call.
Yes, he did. Good pressure, though, Tony, from the Kangaroos defenders. Very hard when it's coming down easy, and there's a 50-metre penalty against Jason Ackermanis. And this is the matchup that you're most concerned with.
Well, I am. You know, Ackermanis is such a dangerous player at any time, but I just really believe you need someone who just will negate him. Don't even worry about getting the ball yourself. You can do that in games. You know, you just got to have someone, stop someone from having an impact.
Motlop received the kick from Anthony Stevens. As Lee Brown wide, broadcast side of the ground, that's where he heads. Good kick. Brown plays on through the middle of the ground now. Forward of the centre circle. This needs to be a good kick, and it's a poor one. McLaren read it well, chipped in and took an easy, uncontested mark.
Well, Lee Brown, that's against the strategy they're trying to put in place, because Corey McKernan led up 5 metres outside the 50. McLaren went back. He had to try and make sure that he hit McKernan. Totally against what they're going with tonight.
McLaren went short to White. He in turn went to Hadley, and Hadley spilt that. Play on the call, and the umpire's coming in, and they say, no, you marked it. Well, I could have sworn he spilt that. So perhaps a fortunate decision there for Richard Hadley. Nodding, just standing on his own, off a couple of steps. McLaren's run all the way down. That's great running from McLaren. He's the one that started it. And again, the umpire came and said, no, you've got to take your mark. Now, did he play on there?
He played on.
Gee, that's two baffling decisions.
The Kangaroos players are going, what's going on? He fell to the ground, took the mark, and handballed Ackermanis straight away, so that should be just naturally play on.
Now, he gives it to him anyway now. Poor kick from Ackermanis. Carousel first to it. Little give over the top. Black pressured. So too Chris Scott. Good work by the Kangaroo defenders. They've turned it over. Here we go. Corey Jones went back the other way.
That's deliberate. That has to be. Yes, and the umpire's coming in. He's coming in from about, I think, don't know whether he's in control of play. Ackermanis has got the ball. He could kick a goal from here, but you've got to have a bit more poise than that.
Lynch. Well, I guess a couple of minutes of confusing footy. Some confusing decisions. And then I think the decision by Corey Jones to go back that way when the switch was on was just perplexing, really.
That's what referred pressure can do to you. He just had a brain drain then, didn't he? Just straight to the bounce. Good decision by the umpire, because there was no other thought than to kick that out of bounds. Easy. Should be an easy goal for Alistair Lynch.
He's got two. Right behind him on the reverse angle. He makes it 3. Tony, talk me through it. What happened?
Well, first of all, I don't think the umpire saw McLaren handball the ball to Ackermanis. He knew that he took the mark. And here we can see Jason knows what's going on, calls Alistair Lynch towards the ball. And on that occasion, Watt wasn't in front. So well set up by Jason Ackermanis. That's why he's such a great thinking footballer. Yes, some dubious umpires' decisions meant that they could get the ball forward.
Alistair Lynch, goal number 3. Chad Jones in the ruck for the Kangaroos. Harris to Simpson. Goes back to Anthony Stevens. Standing start. The direction of McKernan with White. White did well, got a spoil. Chris Johnson took Michael Stevens out of the play unfairly and wins himself a free kick. He too is a prodigious kick of the ball, decides to play on. Another man that is usually good by foot, Shannon Grant, no exception, drills the pass, found Drew Petrie directly in front. You made mention of that matchup before, Tony. Justin Lepage. If you can isolate him, get him in some space, he likes to set up and read the play. He can be caught out.
Yeah, I agree, Wayne. And I think a lot of sides will see this in the finals. The man you want to go to, or go through, sorry. Get a player who keeps coming at the ball.
Drew Petrie, 2 goals, 1 last week in a return to form. He kicks his first for the night. And the Kangaroos won't lie down.
Well, they won't. Look, I think Dean Laidley would be ecstatic with what's happened in this second quarter. The flow of the players just slowed down. Brisbane Lions can't get any run in their game. And Shannon Grant, he picked out Petrie there. That was just a great vision. Got bumped as he kicked the ball. But again, they've got some players in their defence, the Brisbane Lions, who they're not getting the flow of it, and other sides get control that you can use them up.
Three goals apiece in the second term. The margin was 18 points at quarter time. It's now 20. As McLaren, there's an air shot. Chris Scott comes in off the wing. Hadley, measured kick towards Lynch. A free kick against Watt. Now the umpire paid his shepherd as if he didn't give him a run at the ball. I mean,
it's staggering because Shannon Watt was behind him.
Yeah. I think he said that he was being held back and couldn't get away from it. We'd probably see this on replay, but I hope the umpire's right here. That was soft. The ball had gone over the head. We've got to get better than that. Still,
Lynch,
they get an opportunity
for an answering goal for number 4 before half-time. It's tight.
There's justice in football.
It's a behind. As Malcolm Blight would say, the footy gods are smiling on the Kangaroos at the minute.
Well, umpires have just got to get a little better than that, because that's nothing involved in there. Even he had his hand on his back. He didn't
he's
push.
played it for the arm across the left arm, not being able to get his arm up at the ball.
Come on. You won't be able to spoil soon in football. How would that go? It's not being able to spoil. Everybody would take more marks. Might help the game. It's a spectacle.
Baird, right back pocket for the Kangaroos.
Even midgets like myself could have taken them.
Heads up in the direction of Brady Rawlings, but that's a good spoil from Simon Black. Gets the pats on the back and the rub on the head from Luke Power. Richard Hadley tells him well done. Brisbane by 21 points. 6 1/4 minutes remaining of this second term. McLaren, Jones, some strong body work on Shannon Grant. Voss couldn't take it. We'll have a bounce.
There's a great battle. Hadley's trying to go with Shannon Grant. Shannon Grant's going to Simon Black. And the second one, Daniel Smith's involved in the rotation there, so they're all going together.
McLaren.
Daniel Harris, I mean.
Oh, Hart, good use of the body, got rid of Grant. Black, deft hands to Voss, the skipper, to Power, closing 30. Wow, the build-up was good, but the finish wasn't so. Behind.
Luke Power, great running. Isn't it a great ability of players to know when to link up? When the flow of play, you're down the ground a little bit. He probably ran from 40 yards then to link up with that handball. Just when they gain possession, it is a great ability of a lot of footballers.
Just chipped at it, didn't he? Just had to kick through it. Harvey, with the kick from the kick in, finds Savroka. A long way from home. Back through the middle. Got Chad Jones. Uses him. Has some running support. Decides to switch back. And they've worked it well here, the Kangaroos, because Lee Brown has found himself on the wing, getting it from Baird. Slow motion. Bang. Harris is gone. But they've still got possession. King. Watt backs himself to head for home. McKernan the target. He's at it. Almost got it. Without position, Bradshaw. Johnson untidy. Chris Scott to mop up. Looks up, didn't see a lot to kick to. Simon Black. Caracella nodding. Will kick it long. Runs his full measure. Long handball over the top to Power. Can he make amends and hit a target? Brown thought about playing on quickly. had Sean Hart, but he's going to go back and have a shot at goal.
Well, you know, you don't want to blame one person, but when you go down the other end, Corey McKernan's got a beautiful run at the ball. It's been one part of his game where he's been so inconsistent. Marks that he should take. A lot of times he gets under the ball too much, but that occasion he had to hold that mark. Now the rebound, Notting, of course, coming for a long handball to Luke Power, and again, great vision.
Brown hasn't had a big first half from 45 metres. Kicks it straight through, though. He gets his first. The Lions get their 10th. So 28 points is the margin. 4 goals, 4. And we're inside the last 4 minutes of the first term. A typical Lions build-up.
Well, the 4 goals, 4 is what they've kicked in this quarter, Matty. 4 goals, 4 to 3 straight goals. So accuracy is helping the Kangaroos. And you can just see Luke Power, the knowledge of this, getting on that left foot. And, of course, Brown won't miss from that distance.
Jonathan Brown with his first, but you'd have to say that Lee Brown has been up to the task and has limited the centre forward for Brisbane at the moment, but he's on the board now. Hadley, good tackle, Chad Jones. And we'll have a secondary bounce as we head towards half-time.
There's Simon Black and Shannon Grant. We could just see him there. Harris and Hadley are just off the ball, so maybe the Brisbane Lions have dropped off that on that tag now.
McLaren doing well with his opportunities. Harris couldn't take possession. Johnson, he couldn't likewise. Harris has another go, as does Johnson. A couple of determined characters there. They go into half-time, Tony. Would Dean Laidley be reasonably happy?
Well, I think he would. You know, you want to be closer on the scoreboard. The problem is the inaccuracy of the Brisbane Lions. If they kick straight, they might be further ahead. But he's gone with the plan. I don't think he can change it midstream.
McLaren on the second attempt got the handball towards Copeland. Good smother Rawlings. Wells in support. He's got Simpson on the boundary line. Wrong side. Over the top to Sinclair. Closing. Good pressure, Dylan McLaren. Brisbane at their best. Poor handball. Shannon Grant tied up against the line. Not a bad kick, though. Lee Harding.
Fantastic kick from Grant. And the Kangaroos still alive here. Now, Rawlings is peeled off. Yep, here it comes. They maintain possession, which is their want in this style of play. Motlop provides a lead. McKernan in the square. The rest of the players hanging around the 50. And they go back to Chad Jones. And here it is again, the short pass. Simpson. Roos maintaining control of the ball. Now the long kick. Now the lead from McKernan. Michael with him. The spoil. Carosella on hands and knees. Kangaroos with numbers, though. Stevens. Stolen by Power to Voss. And the rebound football is on. It is.
Jonathan Brown.
Forward line. Didn't want to kick it to Brown. Eventually, not sure. That's gone off the side. He's a bit too far from goal, Alistair Lynch. He's not sure what to do. All he had to do was kick it out in front of him.
Well, Jonathan Brown had led back to the goal square, and
I think he wanted Acker to run on there, didn't he? He was trying to convince everyone else he wasn't going to kick to him. He wanted him to run into a hole. 1.5 minutes remaining. It's a 28-point margin deep inside the Lions' forward line. Lynch wins the tap, but David King in the best spot. Heads out wide. Now Harding's got pace. White with the spoil and bounced up pretty quickly. Johnson, too much experience and class there. Stevens with courage, backing back. King gives it back to Stevens. Back to Baird. 0-1-2, and that kicks out in front of Jones. You want to be careful of the bounce here. Coughed it up. Makepeace. Simpson. They're making hard work of it, but they've got it. Makepeace is away.
Goes short up the line to Sinclair. Got a nice little shepherd there from Shannon Grant. Protected Simon Black coming through. Motlop, the kick needs to be good. Will bounce in front of him. Grant provides some support. Will go inside 50, Shannon Grant. This to finish off a nice bit of play for the Kangaroos, but he's not up to the task. And Brady Rawlings, Tony, was 10 yards further up the ground with not a Brisbane player within 10 yards there. Disappointing result from Shannon Grant. Normally a terrific kick, but that's a bit of a letdown.
Well, Simon Black's had 12 possessions, Shannon Grant's had 11, so they've gone head-to-head all night, except for those other two in the mix, and it looks like they'll play head-to-head for the rest of the night.
White's kick into Lepic. It's a 2-on-1 situation. The centre-half back able to mark easily, and that's a dangerous kick. Wells is coming. He's got great acceleration. Black with clean hands. Heading out wide. Again, it's 2-on-1. It's Brown presenting. So often likes to move it quickly. Spills over the back. Baird. A little bit untidy, but it won't matter given that there's only a couple of seconds remaining in the first half.
Just you want to see what part of the game Jonathan Brown starts to get off Lee Brown, whether Lee Brown's got the motor that Jonathan Brown's got. Lee Brown's done a good job in the first half.
McKernan takes it out of the ruck. Wasn't going far. Mark not paid. So a little bit of rain starting to fall here. It was a glorious evening at the start, but a surprising shower here on Riverfire night in Brisbane. But it's half-time, and the Lions have just increased their quarter-time lead by just a minute. It's 10 goals, 5-65. The Kangaroos, 6-2-38. We'll take a break and come back with more after this. Welcome back to the Gabba. It's half-time with the home team leading by 27 points. Alistair Lynch has 3 goals. Jason Ackermanis with 2 for the Roos. Sav Rocker has kicked 2. The rest are all individual goal kickers. And the Lions did lead by 18 points at quarter-time, just stretching that margin out to 27. And, Tony, I guess that's a fair reflection, the margin. They've just been a little bit of control, but the Kangaroos have had their moments.
Yeah, I thought in the first quarter the Brisbane Lions got out to a really good start, and then the Kangaroos stabilised, and I thought the Brisbane Lions were getting a little bit lazy and a bit cocky with how they were playing the game. You think the class is going to tell out, but, you know, strategy the team lately's gone in with, it's worked out pretty well. Brady Rawlins, he's played on Nigel Lappin. Lappin still had a fair bit of ball, I think 12 possessions this stage. He's had about 6 or 8. So, you know, I just think the class net, Power, Ackermanis, Black's had a lot of the ball, and although Grant's had it, and look at Power, Lukey Power on his left foot is just fantastic. Some of the younger players, Daniel Wells early, they put some physicality into his game, trying to put him off his game, and he copped up the ball, but he'll learn from that. Clark Keating, of course, coming into some good form, and look at the brute strength there. Not much Shannon Watt. I thought Shannon Watt did a good job in the second quarter when he played in front, so he might be have a look at that at half-time and say, well, I've got to keep using that positioning. Here's some pressure from the Kangaroos. Look, they've had a go. There's no Daniel Harris. He's one of the players who's had a go. Sav Rocker's had a fairly good half. I think he's kicked the 2 for the half.
He's kicked 2, yep.
So he's giving them something to kick to, but the way that they're playing is that keep coming at the ball carrier. They'll be patient. It's a very smart play by Corey McKernan. I think he's had a fairly solid half. You know, Keating was played very well the first quarter, but I thought Corey was good in the second. And look at that kicking style. That is beautiful, isn't it?
It's great.
I just love watching players kick the ball. I just talk about Jason Ackermanis, you know, he is just one of the greatest players. Pike kicked a goal also. Jonathan Brown, I thought Lee Brown, sorry, that was Alistair Lynch finished off, but Jonathan Brown's been quiet. Lee Brown's done a good job. I just wonder about the motor on Lee Brown to make sure that he can keep in the game. But like McKernan, that's a good finish also. They've been very competitive, and I think they've just got to keep going at what they've gone in the game with that strategy.
I mean, there's plenty of players to match up with the Lions through their midfield. How have you seen some of the matchups? In particular, we've mentioned a couple of times, Ackermanis and Sinclair.
Well, the one thing about Jason Ackermanis and Nigel Lappin, I think you have to negate them so they don't have an impact. Look, they might kick 1 or 2. You don't want them kicking multiples of 3 or 4 and getting a lot of possession. Jess Sinclair's had possession. That's OK. But gee, if at the end of it Ackermanis kicks 4 goals, who wins the contest?
He's very capable of kicking 4 or 5.5, as we saw last week against St Kilda. He can bob up. If the Lions happen to get a run going and they run forward, he's usually the bloke on the end of it.
Well, I'd like to have, say, a Michael Stevens who's got the speed and say, Michael, I don't want him to touch the ball. That's all. Don't you worry about getting the ball. And then use Jess Sinclair, even though he's had plenty of the ball, that Jess Sinclair can move up the ground and also give you a bit of bite around the packs.
I mean, Jess Sinclair, as we know, is a very clever player, likes to use the ball a little bit like Shannon Grant.
That's right.
He's played his best football for the Kangaroos coming off that half-back flank as a bit of an architect. Is it the right spot for him?
Well,
obviously you're saying no.
Well, he's played half-back, but now he's got this role on Ackermanis. I think it sort of stymies his attacking run, you know, and that's what I think they need to get. Like I said, he's had fair amount of the ball, but does that win you a game? I'd like to see him run on the wing or something like that. He's trying to be tough here, and exactly when this happened, I said, what you've got to do now is watch your defensive positioning. Who came out of the pack and got the ball? Jason Ackermanis. So
straight away.
You can do that with Jason, but then you've got to really concentrate. I'm amazed players don't get 5 metres goal side of him. But look, Jess has had an impact, but I think Ackermanis has looked very, very dangerous.
Well, it's a big game for Anthony Stevens, and Wayne Schross will join me after the break. We'll discuss what a brilliant career he's had. Welcome back to the Gabba. Wayne Schross has joined me. Wayne, of course, we're talking about Anthony Stevens. You've played in the premiership with him. You've played a lot of football with him. And tonight's no exception. He's still playing at that same intensity and that same desire and passion.
I think for us romantics, he's shown enough tonight, Matthew, to suggest we'd like to see him go around. But knowing Anthony and speaking with him during the week, he's comfortable with his decision. But he's having a good go tonight, and he's been one player that has really played a good half thus far.
Yes, already with 16 disposals in this first half. And from the point of view, he'd love to go out with a win. He knows that his team is, I guess, a little bit undermanned against the Lions, but he's certainly leading from the front. And I guess that's been his nature right throughout his career, hasn't it, to lead by example.
Yeah, look, he reminds me a lot of Paul Kelly. They don't say a great deal either publicly or in-house, but what they do, I think that encapsulates Anthony Stevens. They lead by example. They just go out there and speak by their actions. And, look, I think he's played a fairly consistent role off the bench. And tonight we've seen him spend a lot more time on the ground, and perhaps that's Dean Laidley's way of allowing him to finish off, if they do finish off tonight.
Are you surprised that he didn't continue towards 300 games?
No, knowing Anthony the way he is, he's not one for milestones. He said today, he's achieved just about everything he's wanted to. He's probably think that he's a bit unlucky not to win a Brownlow, but that's his thinking. But look, he's had a wonderful career, and statistics and awards speak for that as well.
Where does his desire and his commitment and the way he takes his football come from? And we look at his achievements. I mean, 2-time best and fairest Sid Barker medalist, and runner-up 4 times, and there happened to be bloke number 18 there that stole a couple from him.
Yeah, handy player, and to finish runner-up when Wayne Carey's playing at his best is a terrific achievement. All-Australian, international rules, club captain. Look, he's a quiet achiever, doesn't say a great deal, but
very humble man.
A very humble man, and a very good family man as well, as we see his draft history. So a terrific pickup, and he's been such a great servant of the football club. His desire comes from just the determination never to be beaten. And he is one player, I know it's cliche, but you walk off with nothing left in the tank. He certainly has done that for the entirety of his 292 league games.
Yeah, it's been an outstanding career. Of course, his great mate is Glenn Archer, who recently played his 250th game. That was a great win for the Kangaroos. But during the week, we asked Glenn, what's his favourite memory about Anthony Stevens?
The 99 grand final. The preliminary final, he broke his ankle, and probably a memory of him in the rooms on the Thursday night. Dennis giving him the fitness test. He was supposed to hop on it on his ankle to pass the test, and he just collapsed straight away, and no one thought he'd play. And he had about 15 needles before the game, and went out there and had 9 kicks in the first quarter, and then tore his pec muscle off his chest. So that's a pretty horrific memory, but probably one of the best memories. Tough memories.
Yes, only Keith Gregg and Wayne Schimmelbusch have played more games for the Kangaroos. We're going to take a break, come back with the second half. But as we do, we salute Anthony Stevens.
Stevens, the left foot kick is a torpedo, and the captain, courageous, has kicked his second.
Welcome back to the Gabba here on a Saturday night. And it's a 27-point margin, and the second half is just about to get underway. Brad McEwen's been very busy as normal down on the boundary. Here he is, Brad.
Yeah, thank you, Matthew. Now, Anthony Stevens' family is hoping this won't be his last game, but they know it might well be. So they've turned out in force tonight. They've made the trip up from Victoria, along with wife Kelly and daughter Ava, our parents Clive and Kathy, sister Catherine, brothers Brendan and Gary, and a couple of mates as well. So they've all turned out, and they are hoping the Kangaroos will live on next week.
Thanks, Brad. There's young Ava just up there, Wayne Schwass. Is that Catherine? And Anthony's sister?
Anthony's sister with Ava on her lap,
yep.
And Anthony's mum, Kath.
Great to see. And he's certainly, as we mentioned during that halftime report, he's certainly going beautifully with the most disposals of anyone on the ground. 16. Second half underway. Final round for 2004. Kangaroos need to win this game to stay alive. Bounce favours McKernan. Shannon Grant. Arms free, Makepeace driving it forward in the hole though, and taking a good strong mark is Chris Scott. Just peels off and heads wide to Bradshaw, who hasn't had a lot of game time tonight, coming up for his first disposal. Spent most of the game on the bench. Heading long, Lynch on a big lead. Makepeace gets in front of him. David King heads for the boundary and finds it.
Not a bad option to bring off the bench, is he, Daniel Bradshaw? Either end of the ground.
Yeah, you can go forward or back.
I think there'll be a few clubs looking at him at the end of this season just to see where they can bolster their own club up somewhere.
Just playing off a half-forward flank at the moment. Here's Ackermanis. Wobbles it forward, kicks it behind. Almost something from nowhere for the Brownlow medalist.
Doesn't look like both sides have made many changes. I just saw Daniel Wells was starting on the half-forward line, but now he's pushed into the middle of the ground. So I'll just keep an eye out there whether they might have played him across half-forward.
King finds Makepeace. Short. Voss stands the mark. Just looking for something wide. And gets it. Brent Harvey. Short over the top. Anthony Stevens. As mentioned, 14 possessions in that first half. That for number 15. It's a good kick to Daniel Harris. Brisbane getting plenty of numbers behind the ball now. Harris decides to go long towards Rocker. Kick not the best. Michael, ball ricochets off his shins. Johnson dispossessed. Mel Michael has another go. Whistle blown, advantage played. Lappin to Chris Scott. Brisbane on the rebound. Bradshaw, good mark. No one in the goal square, decides to go long and quickly. Distance, not a problem. Accuracy, no problems whatsoever. Daniel Bradshaw, second possession, gets his first.
Well, good move by Lee Matthews to bring him on the ground. He just got away from John Baird, who's fairly quick also. Bradshaw not super quick, but just had enough leg speed. It was a turnover. They played advantage of halfback.
Lee Matthews has been reticent to play all three up there, hasn't he? I mean, this is a bit of a surprise.
Well, sometimes, I think he's going to try and find out in the second half what he can do with a lot on the list. So, Daniel Bradshaw, great flexibility. Play centre-half back or centre-half forward. If Alistair Lynch is out of the side, you know that he's the person who's going to play out of the square.
Goal number 25 for the season for Bradshaw. Keating over the top. Grant there, but beaten to it by Hadley, who gave it to Lappin, who was looking for White and had a second effort, and White was beaten to it by Voss. So the Lions with numbers at the clearance. Ackermanis taking a lot of marks tonight. That's mark number 6. Kangaroos get plenty of numbers back in their defensive 50, and Brown provides a lead. He's a long way out. Waiting for something. Too far out to kick a goal. Or is he going to go back and have a ping? 34-point margin.
Jason Ackermanis just went up to him and said, just hold on, might have a ping for me. About just inside 50 is the man on the mark. Outside, so yeah. 54, 55 metres.
He's kicked 1 goal so far, Brown, 29 for the year. Missed a lot of football through suspension, as we know. From just outside 50. Not a bad hit.
Not a bad hit.
It's a goal. Well, some people say that. Some people reckon no one listens to Jason Ackermanis, but Jonathan Brown must have.
Well, Lee Matthews says that a lot of times. If Jason says what he says, doesn't mean that's what the Brisbane Lions think. But, gee, that was kicked from 54 metres. Just shows the skill. I'm really worried about how Lee Brown's going to go in the second half. Jonathan Brown, one of the best runners in the competition for a man of his size. So the test is on here in the second half for Lee Brown.
Jonathan Brown, one in the second quarter, gets his second for the game. Best against the Kangaroos was 3 goals coming in round 18 last year. Keating, tap, shark by Corey Jones. It's a kick long in the direction of Rocker. Good body work, terrific body work, and that's easier said than done against Mel Michael.
Well said, Swatter, because he just held him off the line, and Mel Michael, I think, probably only the Scarlet, nearly the second best, third best fullback in the competition, and that was great play by Sav Rocker. Sav Rocker, I thought, had to have a big game tonight, and with his opportunities he's had, he's made the most of them because they're thinking about what's going to happen in his career. He's had a good year, and they think he'll play another year. I really believe he had to perform tonight to make that a surety, and he's done that so far.
Well, if he kicks this, it's 50 goals for the season in 14 matches.
That's terrific.
Every indication that he's rediscovered his form. This for goal number 3. Oh, fades it right. And unfortunately, a missed opportunity for Sav Rocker and the Kangaroos.
I don't know how many times I say it, but if he was outside 50, you would have seen his leg finish up over his head.
Yeah.
On that occasion, it was only a half kick. You just see how he jabbed at it?
Yep.
And outside 50, he will just follow through and have the best style of all time.
Well, Power got that too easy out of a kick in. Too close to the corridor. Ackermanis.
We're going to make a change now.
Bradshaw going longer. Oh, well done. Going back. Corey Jones read that nicely. And here go the Kangaroos. They go out the other side, and they've got some numbers. They've got a spare player. Makepeace. It's a Shepherd from Motlop. Hits his target, which is Petrie. Back through the middle. Here's Rocker to make amends. Michael this time getting a hand through. White cleaning up for the Lions. To Lepic. Back to Michael. This is where the Lions like to switch it. No pressure whatsoever through the middle of the ground on McRae. Bradshaw again the target. He's a go-to man in the third term, Tony.
Well, I think they picked out John Baird as a player who can be outmarked. And again, I just say it about Jason Ackermanis. I think they need to make a change. What's happened? Michael Stevens is playing as a negating half forward on Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson's had 15 possessions. That hasn't worked, so I'd just change it over now and get Jeff Sinclair in the middle of the ground somewhere. Michael Stevens has got a fair bit of run. He can contest pretty hard. Just make that change. But this is the problem matchup at the moment. John Baird on Bradshaw.
He's lining up for his second. Does it straighten up? It does. Another goal to the Lions. Bradshaw's got 2, but the danger signs, Tony, is the Lions have got 3 goals already in this term. The margin's all of a sudden blown out to 45 points.
Well, you've got to look at who's going to play. They've got so many problems with matchups, haven't they? That just came out of half-back. And there's Bradshaw. Baird probably wouldn't even have the body strength to go with him anyway. And at the moment, Bradshaw's fairly fresh. Trying to look, maybe Drew Petrie can go back there. He's had a quiet night. Baird might be able to go to half-forward. So they've got real problems in matchups at the moment.
He's played in a multitude of roles, Daniel Bradshaw. Fair bit of time spent in defence, but when he goes forward, he's kicked 26 goals, 8 for the year. Doesn't miss too many. Ball still in the centre square. White. Lovely sidestep. Here they go again. Brisbane is starting to push forward. They're all queuing up for the ball. Hadley drills the pass in towards Lynch. Couldn't take the mark. McRae off to his skipper. Voss, wrong side. Wrong side. Doesn't matter. Michael Voss kicks the goal.
Well, Wayne, I was watching that. I was watching Voss come out of the centre, and just before he kicked this goal, Hadley intercepted, and then he ran forward of Hadley, got to the front and centre, and received the handball. But you can just see here, Hadley takes the ball off him. He continues on. Hadley the short pass. It's dropped by Lynch, and there is a quick front and centre by McRae. That's Lee Matthews to a T. Kick the ball in there. Everybody get to the front and centre.
Michael Voss with a bit of Bit of party time stuff there, a little sidestep, and he's one of 6 players now that's kicked over 25 goals.
And you see what he did there? Instead of going past the contest, we call it treading water, where you just stay on the one spot and know that you can still be front and centre, even though you're close to the contest.
Danger signs here, isn't it, for the Roos? Lions have got a real sniff of going forward, and they're off again. They do kick a lot of goals in a hurry when they're in this mood. Bradshaw couldn't quite get it. Stevens, that's Michael Stevens, headed towards Simpson. Lions. Redlenlow, great tackle. Corey Jones, wonderful tackle. Simpson comes in to lend a hand. That was good to see. 51-point margin. There's that tackle from Corey Jones, wrapping up Voss.
Maybe Dean Laley's got to get a number of players just behind the ball, just to stem the tide for about 5 or 10 minutes again. Stabilise like they did in the first quarter, when it looked like the Brisbane Lions were going to run away with it after a great start.
4 goals in this third term. Bradshaw's got 2 of them. Keating's going to belt that. Playing in front, though, Makepeace. First to it. Ball spills free. Grant goes back to Stevens. Not a good kick from Rawlings. And the ball is out of bounds. Anthony Stevens continuing his terrific game. But at the moment, the Lions in control.
I might be a bit slow, Matty, but I think I'm trying to find Simon Black. I don't think he started on the field after half-time, so they've rested Simon Black. This is that player management I was talking about once the margin blew out. And I would think a number of their midfielders will be rested in the second half for the Brisbane Lions.
McKernan, Grant, hacks it forward in the direction of Harvey. White got rid of him, coming through Lepich. Needs to be good around ground level, wasn't, but Harris was up to the task. Brent Harvey, Shannon Grant slipped at the wrong time, got it back to Jess Sinclair. High, up and under kick, courage needed here. Petrie to fly, couldn't take the mark. Ackermanis to Johnson, and the Lions are away.
They're running forward again, but the handball from Johnson put Keating under pressure. The turnover, Sinclair gave it over to Motlop and turned to Simpson's, crunched as he kicked it. Ball spills down, the spoil came, it falls for Keating. Power with time to give it to Scott. Thought about going wide, decides I'll go straight down the middle towards Lynch. On the half volley, the big man comes out. Over to McRae, 51 metres out with the left boot. No one there except for Bradshaw. Simon Black on the bench is exactly where Bradshaw's come from, and he's thinking, how easy is this? I should have been out here earlier.
Well, I think it's time that Baird has to be moved. I don't know who's going to do it. Drew Petrie or even Corey Jones, just someone different. I know Corey Jones would maybe give away a bit of height, but John Baird just can't go with Bradshaw.
Tight angle, not too far out. Never in doubt. That's 3 for the quarter for Bradshaw. Tell you that's 3. You get a feeling there's more to come.
Oh, they have to do something about it. The problem with Dean Laidley is he's only got so much to work with, and they're making a change now. Voss has gone off, and it looks like Simon Black comes straight on. So there's that man management. Lukey Power hasn't had the greatest tonight. He's still got a fair few possessions, though, Luke Power, 15 to this stage. Once they turn the ball over, great pickup by Alistair Lynch. Alistair Lynch, 6'3", nearly 6'4", and there's Bradshaw. Too much space on the forward line.
The Lions, courtesy of Daniel Bradshaw's 3rd for the quarter. They've kicked 5. The margin out to 57 points. And when they want to go, they put the foot to the pedal. McKernan to no advantage. Lappin swoops on the ball, and again they go inside 50 again. The man of the moment, Bradshaw, couldn't take the mark. McRae gets it moving forward. Watt did well done. Did very well on the second attempt, but there's a queue of Brisbane players lining up. Power. Dubious 15 if it's paid. Brown flies high, took Simpson out of it. Hart to Ackermanis, this for 6. No. Wrong side of the post and scrapes in for a behind.
I can tell you who's drawn the short straw. It's Michael Ferrito has gone to Bradshaw now. So normally a midfield tagger. Got a good body size, so yep, it had to be made, and that's what Dean Laidley's gone with.
15-7 to 6-3 as the Roos bring it back in, and it's Boomer Harvey over to Anthony Stevens. Little chip pass up the line to Wells. Kangaroos trying to build something on this attack. It's dried up for them. Down forward though. Big spoil from Keating. Grant did well in the end. Harvey to Rawlings. Round the body, clever kick. Motlop now He can get a free man here if he moves it quickly. He wants to. Goes back to Grant, forced to kick off one step. Lines in the right spot, and here they go. Michael. Ackermanis lurking. Grabbing. Running. Giving off. Bradshaw! For number 4!
Well,
not much we can say, Tony.
That is as good a football you will see. The rebound by Mal Michael. Now, Ackermanis up against Verito. He's giving away some inches here. Look at this. It's lobbed up. He's used his body beautifully. Pushed him under the ball. Handball's off. Bradshaw through 50. He's kicked 4 for the quarter. He's just saying, how good's this? Just bring me off the bench all the time.
Well, something you don't often see, Jason Ackermanis handballing it off to Daniel Bradshaw. That 4th goal for Daniel Bradshaw takes him to 250 career goals. His best against the Kangaroos came in round 17, 2002 with 6 goals. You might think he'll kick that in 1 quarter.
It's kicked 4. We're not even halfway through the quarter yet.
Would you call it a purple patch? Or a maroon patch? Call it something, but it's special. It's been an impressive 3rd quarter nonetheless by Brisbane. They've really blown the game apart now. Can the Kangaroos respond? They can certainly get some inspiration from that man there on screen. Anthony Stevens has done his part. There's a free kick off the ball in favour of Jess Sinclair. Got players wide, both sides of the ground. Heads out towards Michael Stevens. Gets a kind bounce, has Rawlings, goes backwards to Makepeace. Wells. Wing position, over the top to Sinclair, who'd push forward. A lot of players back in the Kangaroos forward 50. No space for Savrocker to work. Provides a short lead. It's ignored. Caught to play on now, Jess Sinclair. Will just go long towards the square. Petrie in front. Oh, wonderful. Couldn't take it, though. Must have just popped loose as he hit the ground. We'll have a bounce directly in front, 20 yards from the Kangaroos' goal.
There it is.
The replay.
Oh, unlucky. Well, if he only had one hand to mark the ball, what was happening to the other arm?
Good point, Tony. Rocker. Tackled by Chris Scott. Cool under pressure, Darryl White. Well, feigned to go for the kick. Anthony Stevens fortuitously kicks the goal.
Well, Anthony Stevens, doesn't matter how you get him, he's probably been the Kangaroos' best in his last game of football, and he's also kicked the goal in his last game of football. But here's the mark, and I'm just talking about what's happened. Well, Lepage is holding one arm, so it should be a free kick either way. He nearly took the mark, but it should be a free kick for holding the man. But well done, Anthony Stevens. Just don't know, Darryl White here just tripped over his own feet. I tried to kick it, didn't.
The skipper in the best spot, and he didn't make any mistake there. Disposal number 20, his first goal. First goal for the Kangaroos in this half, and stops a run of 6 by the Lions. Margin back to 58 points. McLaren in the ruck. Taking it Brown. Coming quickly off the line. Heading long. Bradshaw almost again. Watt came out to lend a hand to Baird, and we'll have a ball in.
I don't know how many times we've been to the Gabba and we get to a game where, you know, they have got it sewn up, and you ask, how can they be beaten? Where's the little thing, chinks in their armour, which we'll have a look at over the next quarter and a bit.
Hadley beaten to it by Brown. Around the corner, here comes Lynch. Gets one high and gets a free kick. He'll go back to line up for number 4. If he didn't get a free kick, he had Notting lurking, and there was a certain handball to him.
And Steve-O knew. We still wanted to have a yap to the umpire anyway after it was over.
So Alastair Lynch. 1 in the first, 2 in the second. Not a difficult kick. Doesn't make any mistake. Kicks his 4th.
Well, he has been just a sensational player. And I'm trying to see, that's Clark Keating. Hopefully nothing wrong there. No, just a little bit of maintenance. And as I said, they'll be doing that in this last quarter. Here's the replay again. No doubt about the free kick. Steve-O just want to make his intentions felt and did it the wrong way, but you'll never die guessing about Anthony Stevens what his intentions are. Alistair Lynch, I think he's been one of the greats of the game and probably doesn't get the credit he deserves.
They've had some big third quarters this year. They kicked 10 against the Crows, 8 against Carlton, 7 a couple of times against Collingwood and Essendon, and also Collingwood again.
McLaren had the handball heading backwards. Simpson followed through, got it back from Wells towards Rocker. One out with Michael. Battle of strength. Ball spills free. Hadley cleans up, or does he? Ricochet off the shoulder of Lepage. Good support by Hadley again. Ball ends up with White towards Johnson. Black back on the ground. Johnson, good tap, has Power inboard. There's plenty of time. Finally, Luke Power. Another one of these terrific midfield players that Brisbane have at their disposal. McLaren inside the centre square. Heads out towards Lynch. It's a lovely kick. Well, free kick mark. Shannon White pushed Alistair Lynch into the ball, was up to the task, took a terrific diving mark.
Well, the one thing he has never lost in his career has been his speed. You know, like you're talking about Shannon Watt, who's everybody says that the Kangaroos is very, very quick, and Alistair Lynch leads him to the ball. Whether it's the timing, that's one thing, but he has got genuine leg speed that he's had for his whole career.
Straight off.
Oh, I hope he hasn't done. Oh, no.
It's going to be a hamstring if it's
He could have done a hamstring just stretching out then, and he looks that disappointed.
Well, let's hope for Brisbane that's not too serious. We've already got Clark Keating on the bench, who's been getting his shoulder worked on. I don't know whether we'll get to see it here. It's a little bit inconclusive. Jason Ackermanis from outside 50. Couldn't finish off the good work by Alistair Lynch.
Well, we'll know
slowly makes his way.
Sorry, Swatter. We'll know straight away as soon as he goes to the bench, and just see the speed. He's a powerful athlete. Marks. He doesn't hold anything there.
Lands pretty heavily as well, and we'll see.
Here we go.
The physiotherapist for a bit of stretching. So they are playing well, the Lions. They've got this game well and truly won. They're 65 points up, but going into the finals, Alistair Lynch perhaps a big concern. They've got Bradshaw up there at the minute, who's going berserk. That's finally gone out. A little bit untidy coming in from the Roos. So some concerns, and it looks like a hamstring stretch. They're not happy. Brown grabbing it out of the ruck, missed McRae. Stevens again. Support from Petrie. Again, they're pressured heavily, but the reflex hands are still going. Steve-O lost it eventually. Nodding. Well, he's heading towards the goals, but Shannon Watt got back and took the mark.
And they've got numbers. The outer side of the ground. Baird. That's Simpson if he chose. Comes back inboard. Motlop short. Sits the kick up. Set him a hard task. White. Cool as always. This could hurt. Bradshaw has 4 for the quarter. Getting back. Doing well. John Baird.
Well, he had to get back because he turned the ball over the middle of the ground. It could have been costly, but give him credit. Made up for his mistake. Gee, Alistair Lynch hamstring, if it is a hamstring.
It's going straight down.
You're talking normally the three weeks or 3 to 4 weeks. Crucial.
Kick towards Rocker. Cutting that off. Copeland as we cross down to Brad McEwen on the boundary line.
Yeah, when Alistair Lynch came off, the physio Peter Stanton stretched one leg then the other. He said something to Lynchy. Lynchy was devastated. He banged his fist into the ground and he knew that it was bad news. So he's just limped off and he is as dejected as you've ever seen him.
Well, as you mentioned, Tony, 3 or 4 weeks for a serious hamstring, and that's all that's left in the season.
It's just amazing. These are the fortunes of football, isn't it? And look, he's played in 3 grand finals in a row. Other people don't even get the chance. But, that's the thing with Daniel Bradshaw. That is a bonus you have and the advantage of having someone who can play as Daniel Bradshaw can.
That's White going over the top. Lappin, who's been quiet by his standards tonight, but already racked up 16 disposals. McLaren fumbles. Grant working pretty hard. King around the corner, only as far as Darryl White. He's enjoying a very good third term. Apart from that little error, a little half kick that didn't arrive. There's a chip over the top to Bradshaw. He's at centre forward at the moment, and Jonathan Brown's in the square. That's where he's headed. Ball at ground level. Pike trying to give the trying to manufacture a goal. All he's done is kick it out of bounds on the full.
And that's the beauty of Brisbane. You see Alistair Lynch go off. We talk about Daniel Bradshaw. You've got Martin Pike. He can play defensive roles. He can play up forward as well. He's a noted goal kicker.
Well, the thing about it too, Wayne, if you put a smaller player on Martin Pike, he outmarks you. And if you put a bigger player, he gets you with his agility at ground level.
The Kangaroos swimming against the tide. They've been simply outplayed by a very impressive Brisbane side in this third quarter. Brown got it from King. Broadcast side Simpson. He's up to the task. Cut when closing, couldn't get the spoil. Plays on quickly, Adam Simpson. In the direction of Sav Rocker, not the best kick. Grant there, went without it. Black, clean, to Power. Brisbane, Ackermanis building again. He's got Pike further afield. Closes to 50. Martin Pike loads up, and goes bang. Has two, Martin Pike.
Well, it's been an 8-goal-to-1 quarter. 8-goal-to-1, and good pick-up, Wayne. That's what Martin Pike can play across half-back, plays on a wing, or has so the last 2 or 3 weeks. Good ruck rogue if you want him to throw him in the mix, but look at that, from close to 50 or outside 50, and he knew what he was doing. He just wanted to get his name on the scoreboard again.
As you mentioned, 8-1. And it's a sorry-looking scoreboard for the Kangaroos at the moment.
If you want to play the style that they played tonight, and Lee Matthews says, well, sides can play it, they can keep it even, but at the end we will outscore them anyway, and they won't kick enough goals to win the game.
This is Simpson for the Roos around the corner, 2-on-1. Man going back is Copeland and kicks a shocker. Johnson pressed up hard against the boundary, managed to keep it in. Very skillful to Caracella. Back to Copeland, and they restart their run. Darryl White finds himself in some space. There's that strange style of kick. Power over the top. Black going to be run down. Eventually Lappin gave it to Voss. Brown attacks it. Ball hits the deck. Power ran on. Handball over the top. Too far for Pike. Back through the corridor. Rushed behind from Harvey.
Brent Harvey, 12 possessions for the game. Geez, last half of the season. Don't know whether he's carrying an injury or not, but it's been very poor.
Simpson streams out of defensive 50. That's a good kick. Finds Petrie. Has Rocker on the short lead, but the kick lets him down. Bounce favours Michael in front of McKernan. Again, this is where they're so good, the Lions. They get numbers back. They set up. They take their time. Sometimes they make the odd mistake. But the bounce favours Scott towards Power. Lovely kick. We approach the 2-minute mark of this third quarter. Goes short to McRae. One of these lovely left foot kicks in the side. Goes long to the top of the square. Brown and Pike are there. Brown working well. Wells had it spent before he had it. Sinclair chips the kick out to Simpson. To Wells. Still deep in defence. Kick finds King. Defensive 50. The Kangaroos under pressure from Brisbane.
David King waiting for an option, waiting for someone to break free, and he gets that from Ferrito.
Got no one to kick to.
It's all Lions here except for one man. This is that man. Motlop. He's got to beat 3 or 4.
And he does.
White's in trouble. Motlop beat them all. And then kicked it out of bounds on the full. Now, Darryl White. The spot of bother. Let's take a look. Just the fend off here.
Or just the numb arm. He's hitting right on
on the funny bone.
Yeah, it's the funny bone.
The humerus.
Oh, no, wasn't that funny?
Never is. This is Lepage.
Just too easy now.
They still test out the funny bone.
The Kangaroos have got 3 players behind the ball. They just won't be able to score again at the moment.
White not laughing, kicking long. Brown. Pike, going to Ackermanis. He's been off target tonight. Yeah. He's not that time. That's 9 for the quarter, 3 for Acker. 3 goals, 3 to the Brownlow medalists, and It just continues on.
I'll tell you what you want to get from the Brisbane Lions. You want to try and, if ever you were going to coach, try and snip a bloke called Craig Starcevich. Because the thing about it, they run as hard as any side in the competition. You would love to know what they do pre-season. You should send your spies up here to watch them train, because I think they do a lot of long-distance stuff, which a lot of phys ed people try to avoid, thinking it stresses players out. But you've got to get to a point in your career where you go through a fair bit of pain, and this side does it. The reason we say even those bad kicks turn into good ones is because they've always got numbers around the ball, 3 or 4 players working very hard.
The Lions march on. Petrie now in the ruck. Grant got it out to Harris, spent some time on the bench. Good smother, Copeland. They work tremendously hard to put pressure on the opposition, the Lions. Sinclair wins himself a free kick against the goal kicker in Jason Ackermanis. And they persisted with it, Tony. The match-up, Jess Sinclair on Ackermanis.
Well, they have. And look, Ackermanis has kicked 3. What do you say at the end? If they both had 20 possessions and Ackermanis kicks 4, I think Ackermanis wins the contest, doesn't he?
Wells, the kick towards McKernan, but he ran under it. Brisbane with all the numbers. Take your pick, Lepage to White. He's having a good third quarter.
Well, he hasn't had a man for a quarter and a half.
Black, there's still time for one more before the siren for three-quarter time. Comes back inboard. Craig, nodding, it's pushed on. He's got space, closes to 50, pops it up for Brown. To the wrong side of the post. Behind. What a wonderful quarter for Brisbane.
9 goals, 5 for the Lions. Their best ever quarter against the Kangaroos. They're celebrating here at the Gabba. The only bad news for Lions fans is the injury to Alastair Lynch. Three-quarter time here at the Gabba. Lions in complete control by 79 points. Welcome back to the Gabba. Three-quarter time, and the story is not so much the 79-point lead for the Lions, but the hamstring injury to their key forward, Alastair Lynch. And every picture tells a story. He knows how serious this could be. He's been instrumental in their 3 grand final wins at full forward. He is their key. He straightens them up, and maybe he is missing for the rest of the season. But Bradshaw was outstanding in that third term, kicking 4 goals to join Lynch with 4. And a 9-goal-to-1 quarter. Rocker has 2 for the Kangaroos. Luke Power enjoyed a good third term. Ackermanis has been dynamic. He's kicked 3, but he's assisted in 5. And Shannon Grant and Anthony Stevens are working tirelessly, Tony Shaw, for the Kangaroos. But the stats, Tony.
Well, look, they just totally dominated in that quarter. I think it was 9 goals to 1. Yes, 9 goals to 1 in that quarter. Bradshaw with his 4. You know, just around the midfield. The defence got on top. They kicked 3 quick ones, and indeed Laidley said, let's play a couple of blokes behind the play. And then they couldn't kick us goal. You know, could not score. And it's just like Lee Matthews says, if you want to do it, we'll score against you, and you can't win the game. So there's a couple of other injury problems too also for the Brisbane Lions.
Let's check in on the score at the Telstra Dome. The game between St Kilda and Fremantle will show you a three-quarter time score. You know the drill. If you don't want to know it, you can look away now. Dean Laidley in his three-quarter time address. The season is over for the Kangaroos. Let's find out what's happening in the other camp, though. Here's Brad McEwen.
Gary, Daniel Bradshaw, fantastic with 4 goals, but yeah, it might be timely given Lynch's injury.
Yeah, we were really pleased with Daniel. Led at the ball, gave us an option, as well as Brownie and Lynch in that quarter. Yeah, we don't know how bad Lynchy is, but Brady's going to bob up and help us out in that area.
With the finals now only a quarter away, do you lean towards a bit of self-preservation? You're up by a lot. You don't want any more injury.
We've got to finish the game off and make sure we keep it tight, and you form good habits for next week's game.
Okay, thanks, Gary.
Yeah, right.
So Daniel Bradshaw was getting a lot of work from the physiotherapist at three-quarter time. He's gone forward, as has Nigel Lappin, and Tony, Darryl White just at the end of the third quarter was a little bit sore. You picked up as well.
Well, the last kick he had, he went down, he grabbed his hamstring, and I saw he went straight to the doctors as they went to the huddle at three-quarter time, but he's back on the field, so they wouldn't put him out there if they thought he's strained a hamstring.
No player management for the Lions. They're going to run the game out. Anthony Stevens playing in his last quarter of football. No one has touched the ball more than Stevens tonight. 24 disposals. Underway. It's a 79-point margin to the home team as Keating wins it straight away, and the Lions with a bit of reflex, but Voss wasn't ready for it. Somehow got it out to Lappin. who steps around a couple, and eventually the Lions get the clearance they were looking for. Carousel, a measured kick. Luke Power. What a season he's had. Pike on the lead. So Lynch off. Rearrangement. Pike and Bradshaw go forward, and you've still got a three-pronged attack.
They are good, aren't they? That was just a beautifully weighted kick then. And we're seeing that he can kick goals from this distance, and he's going to jump into it very quickly as he lines up.
Here's Martin Pike. Hooks it probably a bit too far that time and just the behind. First score for the final term.
Clark Keating, he was getting treatment at three-quarter time, but he's back on the ground, so he'll do half the quarter, I'd say, with Dylan McLaren. We'll have a look at the list of the Brisbane Lions, Matty, to see who might be playing. McGrath was playing reserves, I think. Scott.
Brad Scott has had 2 games now, so he's available.
They're not key position players, though. That's
no.
Stevens, this time Michael got a good kick from David King. He's out wide to Wells. Started okay, made some unforced errors, but has been reasonably quiet, as have a number of other teammates, except this man, Anthony Stevens. Wonderful player for the Kangaroos Football Club. Back to his brother. They've done that a few times throughout the years, no doubt. Michael Voss, Clark Keating, all camped back inside defensive 50 for the Lions. The kick. Well, he'd rather forget that one. Brent Harvey. He's just tapered off, Tony, the second half of the year. Brent Harvey, he's had his injury concerns, but he hasn't had a good a year as his best and fairest year last year.
Great mark, Blake Carousella.
He's released Ackermanis. Clever kick to Lappin. This is where the fabulous 5 will just combine. You got the feeling they have a big last quarter as well. Power, poor kick, Pike. Round the corner, Power doesn't know where it is. Harris. Sinclair. They've got some time, though, the Roos. Grant's gone back to help out, and he's headed in the Stevens direction once again.
He's played it well, Anthony Stevens, hasn't he? He's been on the wing all night and stayed at home, so it's given it a conduit to the forward line. Ferrito looked to see what was coming.
Wasn't the best kick, though, but Ferrito did well in the end. Corey Jones, that's a shocker. That's an absolute shocker. That's into road D.
Well, that's what happens when you look down the field and you see 5 Brisbane players against 3. You just have to stand and deliver, and if you don't do that, you've got to have a lot of patience.
Carousella. Quiet night for Blake Carousella, coming up for possession number 4. Petrie closes quickly, did well. He certainly tried valiantly, Tony.
Yeah, he started centre-half forward, gone in the ruck in the second half. He's had a great year last year, had a quiet season this year, not as good, but still young.
Clark Keating, well, does it every single time. Uncomplicated football, just gets it moving forward. And sometimes I think in football we like to complicate it a bit too much, but he's a very, very good player by what he does.
Well, look at the grand final last year. The momentum they got from the centre bounce by just belting the ball 30 yards forward.
On that occasion, Petrie did well. As did that man. Black to Carousella. A couple of possessions quickly. Copeland had to stand his ground. Wells did well with the spoil. Voss showed him the ball. Experience beats youth. Gets it back from Pike. They link up through hands. Wonderful play. Black centres the kick beautifully. Has Notting unmarked. David King, hands by the side, has no answers. Tim Notting will go back.
That's Simon Black on his non-preferred there, just to show that he can do it either side. But what about the way they kept the ball going, knowing where to handball to release the pressure? Had about 4 or 5 quick handballs, kept the ball alive, and then someone breaks free, and it was Simon Black on his non-preferred. Again, distance not the worry here.
For goal number 20. Not on this occasion. That's his second behind for the game.
Just thinking some of those weaknesses the Brisbane Lions, I still believe that a couple of their defenders play off too much, and if you can build a side, and it's pretty hard to build around 2 marking forwards or 2 forwards who are going to be your key players to go to, then that could be a weakness. But other than that, see, there's not too many.
The Roos go straight up the middle, and they've done it well here. Stevens was involved, and Shannon Grant's on the end of it. This is Michael Stevens, out wide to Simpson. He approaches the 50. Copeland approaches him. Good chase. Forced him to kick up in the air. Rocker made good position at ground level. Motlop Won't get past Voss. Ball up. 25 metres out from the Kangaroos' goal.
Maybe the ruck of Clark Keating. Look, I think he's a very good ruckman, but Dylan McLaren, the second string ruckman, up against some of the better ruckmen in the competition. If you look at, they're going to play Port Adelaide, Lade, Brogan.
There is Keating, and he got some help from Michael. Power. He just starting to get the ball at will there. Here's Bradshaw. Not his best kick. Suited Ferrito. He could have marked that quite easily. Spoils out of bounds.
What do the Kangaroos need to recruit next year, Tony?
Yeah, you've got to release some of the... I think they need a bit more speed. Daniel Wells is, you know, doesn't get the ball a lot all the time, but he's still learning the game. They've got Harris, they've got Simpson. They've got to have faith in other players in the middle of the ground. Two key defenders at least.
Well, Anthony Stevens just threw the ball out there. He pleads his case on this occasion. They're queuing up. Luke Powers pushed forward. The kick to his advantage. Harding in pursuit. Gets inside 50. Good pressure. Lee Harding, McRae, they've still got numbers. Ackermanis strolls in and kicks it. He has 4.
Well, I think I said if he kicked 4, he won the battle, and he's done that. He's had 21 possessions, kicked 4 goals, 3, and I think set up another 2. So just a fantastic effort.
But 5 goal assists.
5 goal assists. Yeah. 4 goals, 3, 5 goals assist, 21 possessions, and you don't change the matchup. You've got to ask what's happening from the coach's box, I would think.
Well, Lee Harding on that chase, unfortunately, coming off.
The other thing with the Kangaroos, they need a ruckman. You know, young Hale hasn't come through, although he's still young. He might be a chance later. McKernan's past his time, you would think.
Back with the Lions going forward again. The handball was from Black, and the kick off the ground was Voss. Keating also involved. Here's Voss again. A little bit too cute there. Carosella and Michael Stevens, one-on-one. Carosella. That's Anthony Stevens, and did well. Simpson banging it forward. Open forward line, and it's just Lepic and Rocker. Lepic just paddles it out in front of himself. Good chase by Sav Rocker. But unfortunately, the Lions have the numbers and the poise to just clean up. Chris Scott. Here's Lepic, taking his time. Is he going to unload? He is. Not a good kick. Tumbles down. Courage shown by Keating. Couldn't mark.
Oh, he's paid it.
He's paid the mark. Well, he started the game with a couple of marks inside the forward 50, drifting down. How did you see that, Tony? Did you have enough on that?
Well, I don't know. It was that quick, wasn't it? The umpire must have said that he had control, but the spoil came in that quick. You just wondered how long he had the ball for. As we see, Lepic had too much time with the ball. Chasing him. Oh, gee. Got to hold it for a fair while, Matty. I think that was a little bit quick.
I would have been very upset as a defender.
Yeah, very upset.
As a defender, you say, hang on, you've got to have a little bit more on that. But the margin's 87 points.
Michael Voss coming from the field.
Keating lining up to make it 93. That's a rotation. Keating's missed it to the left. Richard Hadley comes to the ground. Bit of a chat with the coach, the captain.
Well, he kicked the first goal of the game, Keating. And as I said, just coming into the finals, Lee's just said to Michael Voss, just have a spell, son. You've done a fair bit tonight. We keep you fresh for next week.
Makepeace to Rawlings, gets it back. Goes up the middle to King. And Makepeace followed up well. Worked it well to McKernan on the stretch. As he said, the none for Coring down there to David King. So many problems going inside 50. Scott read it best. Kick was for Harvey. And favoured Chris Scott. Follows up, did well, got a tap out. They've always got numbers around the contest, Brisbane. Lappin set his teammate a task in Craig McRae. Grant with some strong body work. Rawlings went without it, wanted the free kick. McRae followed up with a terrific tackle. He'll have a bounce. Lee Harding. It's a dejected look on his face. Came off the ground a few moments ago.
Gee, Nigel Lappin was fantastic in that contest there. He kicked the ball, followed up and just went hard at the ball.
Wells flies high. Nodding. Good tackle, Simpson. Sinclair in support. Couldn't take possession. Slippery ball at the moment. Hadley, was he pushed in the back? No. Just a lull in the game at the moment as Sean Hart prepares to come on the ground. We haven't seen a lot of Sean Hart tonight. Wonderful, experienced player. Two veterans in the side, along with Darryl White. Grant comes back inboard to Anthony Stevens. Continues to try hard for the Kangaroos. Towards Petrie. Lepage, good spoil. Johnson. Evade the tackler. And a Brisbane go away again. Carosella to McRae. Centres the kick in towards Brown. Stevens getting back. Couldn't fill the hole. Wonderful kick by Craig McRae on his wrong side. Sets up a shot for goal. Jonathan Brown.
Well, just the skills of the Brisbane Lions. So, you know, that's on his non-preferred again. Like Simon Black, they just show that they're multi-skilled. Just put the ball out in front. Also, it shows a lot of youngsters you don't have to kick the ball low and hard to make it easy for your teammate on the lead. Doesn't that always have to be a low, hard kick?
This for his third. Slight angle. No problems. Converts. Brisbane at 21 goals.
Well, Jonathan Brown, he thought that he lowered his colours. Well, not lowered his colours, but Lee Brown did a good job early in the first half. Now that he's kicked three goals and he's had 13 possessions, starting out of the square now that Alistair Lynch now is off the ground. And there's Jonathan Brown. Not as classical as a Sav Rocker at Alistair Lynch, but fairly efficient.
Spent a lot of time studying tapes of his hero, Wayne Carey.
There's Craig Starchevich there giving Jonathan Brown a message.
He's got 3. Ackermanis with 4. Lynch with 4. Bradshaw with 4. Rawlings driving the Kangaroos forward with a clearance. Lepage going back. Immediately realising that, Carosella breaks to the wing. Slows it down. Waits for someone to present, and it's Hadley. One of the tallest midfielders in the competition. If not the tallest. Only just under 6'4" that play in the midfield. Pike. Bradshaw. Margin at 94 points after being 27 at half-time. Not much movement at the moment. Bradshaw hits it out in front of McLaren, who provides as a target. Too far out to kick a goal. He's heading in the Brown direction, but the Kangaroos get plenty back to the head of the square. Brown comes through. Wells in the right spot, trying to claim the mark. And we should have a ball up. No, we've got play on. The Kangaroos clear it. Out in front of McKernan, we've got a ball up. Ball in, I should say.
So the game's, as we see this replay,
He had 2 bites on it.
the game is in the bank for the Brisbane Lions. They'll sail into September on the back of 3 consecutive wins. They'll give every indication they're ready to have a crack at their 4th consecutive premiership. Bradshaw with the spoil, did well, nodding. Goes long in the direction of Brown, with Brown, that's Lee. Whistle's blown. Free kick's been paid against Lee Brown, the recipient, Jonathan Brown.
And a 50-metre penalty, so someone has verbalised to the umpire. I just wonder how... I shouldn't say it because I was probably one of the worst, but I've got to say, how much can you say to an umpire to get a 50-metre penalty in that quick time after the contest? How much?
You were one of the best at it, Tony Shaw.
As good as ever been.
But that's not worth... It can't be worth 50-metre penalty that quick. You must say something just drastically wrong.
That's unbelievable you've mentioned that.
Jonathan Brown gets his 4th. And the Lions juggernaut marches on towards September.
What I'm trying to say is the umpire, are we getting a bit touchy? Like if they swear at an umpire, and I'm not condoning this for the youngsters out there, but we're on a league football where the battle's pretty hot, and they swear at an umpire, how much can you say in a period of time which was about 5 seconds and to get a 50-metre penalty? Like you'd have to get a few words out in the one in the 5-second period.
Well, I've heard it.
Now, look at that. That umpire went up to Lee Brown and he said a couple of things to him. Now, I think the umpire's got to be a bit strong character than that to think that something he said was untoward to get a 50-metre penalty.
Luke Powell get one high. Tony Shaw's got a short memory here at the Gabba with the Lions leading by 100 points. Complaining about talking to umpires.
Never once got reported for abusive language.
No, too quick. How many words can you get in 5 seconds? You can get about 40. Hart kicking long. Brown's kicking goals at the minute. Bradshaw. If it's not Brown, it's Bradshaw. He's come off the bench, gone forward. He's going to end up with 5.5.
Well, Wayne, you asked me what the Kangaroos need, and I got through it a little bit, and I said 2 key defenders. Throw in another one. Let's get 3 for them, because, you know, some of these players I think might be better as peripheral defenders. Gee, it's one area of the game they really need to improve over pre-season.
Bradshaw's got 5. Lions up by 106. Their best victory this year. They've already had a 117-point victory over the Adelaide Crows here at the Gabba. They're on track to eclipse that.
Well, depending on what happens, they're going to have the home final here. Before tonight's game, it looked like it may be St Kilda or whoever it's going to be up here. St Kilda had to travel again a week after what happened, but a night game, I think that would be, they're going to play here on the Friday night, Brisbane. So it could be that Brisbane have to play on a Friday night here.
He's enjoyed his outing tonight, Daniel Bradshaw. 5 goals straight. He kicked 5-1 in their round 7 clash earlier this year. Grant hurriedly to the vacant centre forward position. Justin Leppich. Kent, they're all alone. Switches play. Caracella. White provides the run. Support. Kick towards Black. Lunging Anthony Stevens couldn't take the mark, and the ball goes out of bounds for a throw-in.
That was just too easy. The ball came out of the centre. Leppich in the corridor, and Drew Petrie. Body language is like this has just been too long a season for him and for him. I know whether he's been carrying an injury also, but gee, it's been a great year last year. It's been fairly poor from Drew Petrie this year.
McLaren pushed under the ball by McKernan. There's a second go. Did well. Got it out to Caracella quickly. They go inside 50. McRae did well. Spoiled makepiece. Ackermanis on the boundary. Don't tell me. Not this time.
Gee, Jason Ackermanis, you go miles to watch him play, don't you? Just players like him. And the good thing I love about him is, you know, people, you either hate him or love him, but what he says, he walks the walk, he talks the talk and he walks the walk. That's what he does.
10 goals in the last couple of weeks. And quite a few behind, so he's getting plenty of shots on goal. He almost manufactured that one.
He's nearly the AFL's virgin.
Have we that one? Can we run a tape over that? He's just announced that he's expecting.
That's right, they're having a kid. Version of Muhammad Ali. Because Muhammad said all those things and then he followed through.
Well, his ability to father children has been questioned here tonight. As Lee Brown kicks it.
Freudian slip.
Oh, here's Mount Michael, and it's disheartening at the moment for Kangaroo fans watching it bounce out so quickly, but the tackle came from Motlop. Black crutch by Stevens. Free kick for pushing the back. Advantage will be played. Johnson to Chris Scott. Heads in the Pike direction. Stands his ground. Wins a free kick.
Now, the umpire said that he was holding his jumper and holding his arms around him in the marking contest. I think this has been an interpretation which has been looked at over the last couple of weeks as he plays on.
And just pops it out to Notting, who thought about going over to Ackermanis, but Tim Notting, who has missed a couple tonight. Missed a couple of set shots. He's got 3 behinds. Here you go.
Well, yeah, look, you probably can't hold their arms so they can't get him up to the ball. That's what the umpire said.
That's the interpretation. The player must be allowed to get his hands at the ball. Here's Notting lining up for his first. Can he straighten up the radar? 40 metres. Coming back. Holds its line. Another goal of the Lions. Maybe. Umpire still hasn't signalled it yet. We've got drama. Is it? Wait. Yes. No. Sorry.
It's all clear.
All clear.
I think Liam Matthews now getting down to the end of this quarter would be thinking all I want is no one else to get hurt. You nearly send out the message to say, no, you can't say not. You know, just play it, keep possession of the football for 5 minutes. See if we can hold on to the ball for that long.
I don't think they've really got to worry about it because the Kangaroos aren't putting any pressure on. They're coasting there at the moment, Brisbane.
I know that, but we just saw Anthony Stevens roll over Simon Black with a knee. You just, you know, you can't stop players doing it, but you can keep control of the ball. That they don't. It doesn't even become an issue.
Brisbane having it all their own way in this last quarter. The Kangaroos have only kicked 1 goal since half-time. That came in the 3rd quarter. Makepeace, back edge of the square. Comes in short. That's a good kick on his opposite side. Finds Harris. Sinclair in short. Comes out wide. Spots up Adam Simpson. Motlop led to the pocket. Goes to David King. Doesn't mind a shot at goal on this occasion. Goes short to the leader, Petrie. Well worked, the Kangaroos. As we take this opportunity across down to Brad McKeown.
Yeah, Lions fans, don't worry too much about Jonathan Brown down there. Now, we know Lynch is off. I believe Brown is OK. The physio, Peter Stanton, had a quick look at him and he handed him over to the masseur. So I think he's just getting a general rub.
Petrie, 1 goal, came in the 2nd quarter. This for goal number 20. It's a wobbly looking kick, but gets it. The Kangaroos have their 8th.
That's his 2nd, Drew Petrie, for the game. And as I said, he looks like the body language has said, I've had enough of the season. And a lot of these Kangaroo players are probably thinking the same thing. Quite a disappointing performance. You know, Anthony Stevens' last game. He can hold his head up high, though. I think he's been the best Kangaroos player by far and one of the best players on the ground. So it just shows, you know, a player of his ability thinks he's had enough in, you know, through his career, and that's it now. Dual premiership player. He just thinks, no, I've had enough, and that's the finish of his career, and what a great one it's been.
A run of 6 goals, then a Kangaroos goal, then a run of 8, then a Kangaroos goal in this 2nd half. The Roos trying to get an effective clearance, and David King's paddling it forward, and away he goes. Breaking quickly, short pass, going in tough and hard was Michael Stevens. Eyes for the footy, paid the price. He's been hit hard, and there's a Lions player down as well, Mal Michael. Whoa. Have a look at this from Michael Stevens, knowing what's coming. Collision. So some real concern from the Lions' point of view. Look at that from Michael Stevens, but Mal Michael's still on the ground. And Tony, you just mentioned a minute ago about some injuries.
Well, he had
to
cut
head.
He's cut head, yeah, and he might have a bit of concussion, but there's Lee. And I tell you what, Michael Stevens, you can hold your head up high because the football world just saw what, well, probably you've seen your brother do so many times, and he's followed in the footsteps of his big brother. No one wants to go here, but as I keep saying to people, the 10-second of pain you go through is a lot better than a lifetime of embarrassment if you don't go there.
I think the elbow just came across Mal Michael's head here. Yeah. He's going to just get some work on that. He's got a smile on his face.
He just split his head. It looked like it was the elbow. And that's good news for the Brisbane Lions. Not that he's got a split head, but he is up and walking and he knows what's going on, having a bit of a smile about it. But can we just go back to Anthony Stevens again? Michael Stevens. That is sensational stuff. I think in modern day football, our footballers, and I think we were courageous, or blokes were courageous in the old days as they wait for Mal Michael to go off the field. But gee, they show it so many times in our game because the ball moves that quick that they've got to get there and they've got to move quick themselves to try and take the mark, and that's when the collisions occur.
That's right. Now this deserves a goal.
Does it what?
Kick from 40 metres. Looks pretty good.
Well done.
Well done, Michael Stevens. Not a lot to be gained in this final term, given the margin still over 100 points. But a wonderful example for the younger teammates of the Kangaroos that when you've got to go, you have to go, and you deserve the goal.
I thought he had to have a bigger role in this game tonight. And as I said, during the first half, Ackermanis was always looking dangerous, and I thought he was the man to play on him. But it hasn't happened. Just kept going with Jess Sinclair, but that's an impact that he's shown tonight. That's even that one act is worth probably 2 to 3 or 4 good quarters of football.
158 to 57. The Kangaroos have got the last couple of goals. And Corey McKernan bashes it forward. Luke Power tracking back to clean up once again.
28 possessions, Luke Power.
Oh, they've kept Lappin and Black and Voss pretty quiet. 18, 19, 19, but you can't keep them all quiet. Power's up to 29. And Ackermanis damaging at 22. Big kick from Copeland. Almost the mark. Here's Voss. Here's Ackermanis. Can't get free. Gets his hands free, though. Out in front of Voss. Shares it with Black. Round the corner. Johnson slips down. Well done by Petrie, but Johnson keeps his feet. Quick hands, nodding. Wrapped up by Stevens. Inventive by the Roos out of defence. But in the end, it's a good mark.
That go 15 metres?
Up in the air. So the Lions, through Blake Carosella, lining up for goal number 25.
Well, Blake's had a very good last quarter.
Yeah,
he's been quiet. He was one of the quiet players who can play half forward, push onto the wing, be that floater, and he was quiet until this quarter. And now, because of their dominance, he's just got involved in the game. So they go into next week with every one of these players with a fair bit of confidence, knowing that they've had their time tonight.
Lining up for his first. Needs to bend it back. He does. As he bent it back in time, the crowd seem to think so. Black thinks so, and the goal umpire agrees. Now Michael with the head bandaged up, looking on. He'll be right for next week. Not so sure about Alistair Lynch. It looks bad for him, but the Lions, their preparation for the finals, as you say, Tony, is spot on.
Well, 10 goal kickers to 7, with only Sav Rocker and Drew Petrie kicking multiple goals. Drew Petrie kicking one in this quarter, where Lynch has kicked his 4, Bradshaw's kicked 5, Brown's kicked 4, Ackermanis has kicked 4. It's just it's too hard to handle, too hot to handle.
107 points. It'll be the Lions' best ever performance. Biggest victory against the Roos. Johnson was brilliant early. Copeland, unsung hero tonight, misses his target though. Stevens and Carosella. Stevens forced out of it. King came through. Nice pick up. Michael Stevens goes back looking for his brother. Evades, nodding. McKernan couldn't quite get it. Neither McRae. Went to go through his legs. Simpson. Ball's going to come out here. Copeland just bashes it forward. Pike untidy, but here goes Ackermanis. Carosella needs a kind bounce. Goes back. Only to the numbers for the Kangaroos. Lee Brown, free kick, and it's a
Carosella.
Lions free kick. Carosella's just kicked the goal. And, Tony, we talk about Carosella coming into that mix. With Lynch going out, everyone gets rearranged. Like Pike goes forward, and then Carosella slots into his spot. Well, so it's just like a wheel.
I'm trying to pick up where he's been playing. He started across half forward. Now he might have taken Pike's spot on the wing, and he's getting forward, forward and finding that space. And you're right. And he's a dangerous player in grand finals or finals, because he is that player that got all the hard nuts over the ball, who run the lines and that. He just sneaks in between the lines, and he's had that ability all his career, especially at Essendon.
Inside 50s are 68 to 38, and we made mention 17 to 10
17
at quarter time, so they've kept up. 4 17s are 68.
Gee, that's good mathematics.
That's outstanding, isn't it? And 4 10s are 40, so they're too short, the Roos, but there's still time. Goal.
Carosella's kicked another goal.
$16 to 3 in this second half. And once again, the Lions out to 113 points. The margin means nothing given the round 22 situation. Percentage-wise, they'll be ahead of Port Adelaide for the moment, so they just sit back and watch the Port Adelaide showdown to see where they finish first or second.
Well, that's amazing. I spent my best 3 years of school in grade 3, and just to think the 4 17s are 68. Well done.
There's plenty more where that came from, Tony. 113 points. The Lions chant goes around the ground. Black to Power. Wants Carosella again. Big punch from Brown. Lions aren't done with yet. Hart put too much on the kick. Keating didn't mark it. Inside the last minute now. The siren would be a welcome sound for the Roos as David King tries to clear it. Only as far as Acker. Poor kick. Anticlimax for the crowd, certainly. They wanted one more.
I tell you, it would be great if the Kangaroos can get the ball into the hands of Anthony Stevens.
31 disposals for Anthony Stevens, one ahead of Luke Power on 30, so he has finished his career with a brilliant performance, a lion-hearted performance, but unfortunately it hasn't had the effect on the team. As Power again, high ball. Now free kick going back to Brisbane. It's going back to Luke Power.
Chad Jones just slung Power to the ground after he had kicked the ball. He's had a great night too. Luke Power,
Second
like you
half.
say, Luke Power's got under the guard. The other three have, you know, not had quiet nights. They've both all had 20-odd possessions.
Here's Bradshaw. Lappin, winding down, kicking it forward. What marks? Stevens is close by. The Lions will finish first or second. Anthony Stevens will finish an outstanding football career spanning 292 games. He finished it in personal style, but unfortunately for him, his team has been beaten by 113 points. Not the way he'd want to go out, but what a player.
Well, there's a former teammate too, Martin Pike. The respect that Anthony Stevens has won. There's Vossi. These are the great times in football. You know, all these blokes know that this bloke is one of the greatest competitors ever to play the game. He's been involved in premierships. He's won best and fairest, and there's one of his mates too, our own Wayne Swass.
Steve-O, you haven't had a moment to allow it to think in, but a mixed bag of emotions at the moment.
Yeah, tonight's pretty disappointing. You know, we thought we were a chance tonight and hope for a few results tomorrow go our way, but wasn't to be. You know, the Lions are a fantastic side. You know, I think they're premiership material again.
Any regrets?
Tonight that we didn't win, but not in football, no.
Mate, you played a pretty special game yourself tonight. I know the result didn't go your way, but at any stage during the course of the match, you found the football, you did all the things that we've come to expect of Anthony Stevens. Was there any moment that you thought, hang on a minute, I might have done it prematurely, I wouldn't mind going again?
Well, when Big Brownie come flying out there, I was going to jump in front of him. I thought, I'm not going to kill myself tonight. So, yeah, no, I think the boys looked after me from Brisbane. Didn't go near me and the ball kept bouncing my way. So, Pike said at the start he was going to look after me.
Well, Anthony, on behalf of everybody at Fox Footy, on behalf of Kangaroo supporters and the footballing community in general, thank you very much. You've been a thoroughly good player, a great player. You've been a great ambassador. Good luck for the future, and thanks for everything that you've done for AFL football.
Thanks, Roy. You're an absolute fucking champ, mate.
Anthony Stevens going out in style, if you could say that. And great mates, of course. Great mates, Anthony Stevens and Wayne Swass. And Steve-O, well, he's going to remember for a lot of things. And one of those is just saying goodbye in inimitable style. Of course, inimitable style is Jason Ackermanis doing his handstand. Another great game from Ackermanis.
Oh, sensational, but yeah, that goes down with AFL TV bloopers, but we'll wear that. Look, you've got to have this emotion, and people might be a bit worried about that one word, but that's the emotion Anthony Stevens, and fantastic.
Let's hear from Brad McEwen. He's with Daniel Bradshaw.
Daniel, 5 goals. You had a purple patch in the third quarter, but, mate, we've seen Lyncher go off with a hammy, so you might need to kick a few more over the next few weeks.
Yeah, hopefully it's not too bad. Lyncher's hammy. I was pretty fresh in that end of the second quarter coming on. I've been sitting on the bench for the whole first half, so hopefully Lyncher's all right for next week, but if not, I might spend a bit more time down there.
Heading into the finals, you can't do much more than a 100-point victory.
Yeah, well, we need to win by a good margin tonight to try and stay second, so I don't know how much St Kilda won by, but they would have been doing pretty well to beat them by that much, so it's a good win in the end.
Brady, well done. All the best for next week.
Thanks very much.
Anthony Stevens with his wife Kelly and his daughter Ava just wandering down the race. It's all over for his career. I wonder if when he shows the tape to Ava, he might have to bloop out the last word he said the spot of it. Daniel Bradshaw, 5 goals in that second half. He's going to be a very important player now for the Lions, given Alistair Lynch's injury.
Well,
and they've just finished off the season nicely. Their last 3 wins, some big wins along the way, and now they prepare for another final series, and they'll be playing at home their first week.
Matty, if I can reminisce, I remember my last game of football was in Perth, and it was in the final against West Coast Eagles. We got beaten by 4 points.
I remember the game well.
Mickey McGuan was dropped the mark pretty close, and I tell you, when you go into the rooms and you sit down and you say, well, you're going to miss what you've loved so much, but in one way it's a great relief that the pressure that has built up over his, I think, 14, 15 years that he's played. I played for 17. And you think, in the end, but you do miss it, you know. You think, why did I miss pressure like that? But that's what football's about. It's about going out, and he's a warrior. And I'm a bit sad just seeing a bloke like that retiring.
Here's the song for the Lions. Welcome back to the Gabba. Another powerhouse performance by the Lions in the end, of victory by 113 points, if you can believe that. And Lee Matthews will be very pleased with the way his side is playing going into the finals. Here he is downstairs with Brad McEwen.
Yeah, thanks, Matty. Lee, a fantastic win, but the downside, that injury to Alistair Lynch.
Yeah, well, he appears like he felt his hamstring, so well, I guess we'll wait and see what that eventuates to be, but obviously doesn't look great. But yeah, most other parts of tonight were pretty good.
Lee, we saw that Bradshaw came on in that third term and covered well for Alistair. Why did you leave him on the bench for so long?
Well, yeah, I guess good question, the way he played the third quarter. Well, we went with just Brown and Lynch as two big forwards, and then at half-time we wanted to get Brady onto the ground, so we played him as the third tall and fresh. He was fantastic. So I guess sometimes all three of them are there at the same time, sometimes they're not.
Lee, I thought after last week in the hot conditions that a good sign was you jumped into the game straight away, and then everybody had an impact and also got a fair bit of game time.
Yeah, we were able to spread the load pretty much over the 22, and yeah, we got a little bit of a. I guess our inside 50s were dominant in the first half, and we got 4 goals in front. But then in the second half, the scoreboard floodgates open. I guess the Kangaroos had lost hope really in the last quarter and a bit, and when that happens, and the last game's coming, the scoreboard can really open up.
Lee, Jason Ackermanis continues to play some good football, kicking a lot of goals, but so much involved in setting them up over the last couple of weeks. A lot more unselfish play from Jason.
Oh, yeah, well, he's a great man with the ball in his hands, whether he's finishing himself or he's setting up other players. He's got fantastic skills, great decision-making. So he's had a couple of really good games and done a bit of finishing himself.
I think, Lee, one of the great signs too is now Clark Keatings has got a good month of football under his belt coming into the finals. He seems to do it every year. But the other thing, Dylan McLaren too, he looks like a player that you're going to have to depend on to take a fair bit of load in the final series.
Oh, yeah, well, guess what? We're four ruckmen, and the other two, of course, Bo McDonald and Jamie Chum, we know are gone for the year, so they're the two that are standing up and both going well. Dylan's played much more senior football this year than he has before, and Clark has actually started to get that, as you say, 4 or 5 weeks under his belt, and the benefits of that can be seen, I think.
Lee, into another final series. I know you used the phrase that the players have to play in the now. You must be pretty pleased with the last 3 weeks, though, the way the team has run into this final series.
Yeah, well, we dropped those couple of games, but we've won our last 3, which means, well, we've at least maintained second spot. You never know what might happen tomorrow. You could get top spot, but at least it gives us a couple of games. Once you get to top 4, at least you've got a couple of games to try and get to the preliminary finals, and, of course, they're knockout anyway, so we've got a couple of opportunities of trying to get to that 3rd week.
Lee, congratulations. Another final series, and good luck for the team.
Thank you.
Lee Matthews takes the team into another final series, and it's not often you go into a final series and another 100-point win, so their form is as good as it's been over the last 3 or 4 years going into it.
I thought Lee would have just wanted to win tonight and to get across the line. I don't think they needed a hard hit out. They played in that one against St Kilda last week in the heat, so they would have felt a bit of that. But gee, the way they jumped into the game, look at that. Bradshaw kicked 5, and he's done it all in the second half. Ackermanis is in career best form. We're saying this about a Brownlow medalist. Jonathan Brown was quiet early, but then at the end he just works players out of the game because they are so fit.
And the disposals right on top there for the Lions. The inside 50s is
71.
71 to
amazing.
38. That's a game over, isn't it?
Yep.
Regardless of the scores. And a pretty dominant performance by the Lions as we take a look at the ladder. Now, at the moment, they're in top spot. Their percentages jumped up a mile, but it's all academic, really, because the showdown is on.
Well, the showdown, Port Adelaide have to win tomorrow because then St Kilda will take their place. No, they mightn't because of the percentage, will they? Is that right? So, yeah, Port Adelaide, Brisbane will probably play St Kilda up here, I would think, next week. Depending on what happens there.
Depending on what happens, and of course the Kangaroos have missed out. They've finished their season at 10 wins and 12 losses. And Essendon with an important game for them coming up against the Western Bulldogs. We've been following the St Kilda Fremantle game from the Telstra Dome. Of course, the Saints have won their last 15 at the Dome, so very hard to beat. Let's take a look at that score. If you want to watch the replay, it's coming. You can look away now. Lee, it's been you're not Lee, are you?
No, I'm better looking than Lee.
Tony,
I've known Lee, though, for a long time.
You've known him, you were talking to him. It's been an interesting night. Two stories from the night. One is Anthony Stevens, what a fantastic finish from him. The other is Alastair Lynch, possibly with a serious injury.
Oh, look, Anthony Stevens, well done. You're a credit to you, yourself, the family and the club, and being one of the best AFL footballers of all time. And, yeah, that is a big loss with Lynch, but, gee, Bradshaw just showed if you've got another fall and he's done it all in the second half, well, they've got someone who can fit that spot straight away.
Thanks, Tony, for all your help tonight and throughout the season.
I'll get your name right.
Yes, thank you very much. And, of course, also from Wayne Schwass and Brad McEwen and all the team here at the Gabba, Anthony Stevens goes out with a bang in more ways than one, and we'll see you later.